Simultaneous Transmigration, unstoppable from the anime multiverse. Hey, fanfic family. So glad to see you here again to continue this incredible adventure. As always, kindly remember, this story is 100% fiction, so don't go looking for dimensional portals in your closet. All rights to this fantastic novel belong to the original author. We're just your humble narrators of epic tales. Are you enjoying the fanfic? Show it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and dropping us a like. And if you're impatient for more exclusive content, our Patreon is your happy place. Chapter 201. New Eagle girls appear one after another. Kaba, get your people out of here. This isn't even a duel. That bastard Malik is killing people. Janouchi already had a crush on Malik, and she'd been saved by him before. Seeing her friend suffering, Janouchi was naturally furious and wanted to call a duel. Malik decided to accept this duel herself. She should have known what would happen if she fought Malik. I don't believe in so-called dark duels, but do you think Malik will let Malik go if she admits defeat now? As a staunch materialist, President Kaba completely disbelieved in the concepts of fate, darkness, and so on. Even with the supernatural unfolding before his eyes, he remained stubborn. However, he was clear on one thing: if Janouchi interfered with the duel now, it would mean Malik forfeiting. And President Kaba didn't believe Malik would show mercy to Malik after she forfeited. Janouchi, trust Peacock Dance. She's not such a fragile duelist. With Yami Yuji intervening, Janouchi had no choice but to give up. However, this didn't stop Malik from continuing his suicidal provocation. After the soul-searing pain subsided, Peacock Dance, panting heavily, finally stood up again, supported by the crowd's expectations. Honestly, if it were her old self, she would have likely lost consciousness after that wave of attacks. Fortunately, after the previous dark duel, Seiya had helped her strengthen her mental strength and willpower, so her mental endurance is much stronger now. It's my turn. Draw a card. I'm going to activate the quick play spell Unusual Food from my hand to destroy the continuous trap card mirror wall of screen on my field, restoring 1000 life points. Peacock Dance's LP 1650, 2650. With the HP restored by 1000, Dale, who had completely disappeared before Peacock Dance, now reappeared. Beautiful. The continuous trap card mirror screen wall has a powerful effect of having the attack power of the opponent's attacking monster. However, if you want to maintain this trap card, you must pay 2000 life points after your turn ends, otherwise the card will be destroyed. Wu didn't want to maintain the effect of mirror screen wall, so she used Unusual Food to restore her LP, which can be said to be the value of this card to the extreme. Hearing Yami Yuji's evaluation, his friends who were there to support him also showed a look of confusion. Activate the magic card Pot of Greed and draw 2 cards from the deck. Activate the magic card Angel's Charity and choose 3 cards from the deck, and then choose 2 of them and throw them into the graveyard. After banning 2 cards in a row, Peacock Dance looked at the extra cards in her hand and a smile appeared on her face. I will summon Condor Harpist from my hand in attack position, accompanied by a burst of light. A Condor lady holding a harp also appeared on Peacock Dance's field. Next, I will activate the special effect of Condor Harpist. When this card is successfully summoned, you can activate it by targeting one bird-type monster you control and one face-up monster your opponent controls, other than this card. Those monsters return to their owner's hands. And the targets I choose are, of course, Condor Queen and the Demon Soldier on your field. As Condor Harpist plucked the harp in its hand with its claws, a beautiful sound of the piano suddenly echoed throughout the field, and Condor Queen, which had been bound by the torture wheel, also let out a cry of liberation and returned to Peacock Dance's hands. Of course, Malik's Demon Soldier was also bounced back to his hand. Since it lost its target, Malik's continuous trap card, Torture Wheel, was also destroyed. Seeing that Peacock Dance had destroyed his previous huge advantage with just one monster, Malik looked visibly annoyed. However, even with Demon Soldier bounced back to his hand, he still had Killgaz with 1880k on his field. Peacock Dance had already normal summoned it, and the Condor Harpist she summoned was no match for the monsters on his field. Condor Harpist, 4-star bird beast, 1780k, 600 def. Besides the special effects just used, nearly all Condor decks have special effects that can be used as Condor Lady on the field or in the graveyard. My turn isn't over yet. Activate the spell card Mangela Mirror, magnificent clone from your hand, This card's effect activates as long as there's a Condor Lady on the field. You can special summon 2 Condor Lady or 1 Condor Lady Sisters from your deck or hand. So, this time, I'm going to special summon the Condor Lady Sisters from my deck. Condor Lady Sisters, 6-star bird type, ATK. 1950, Def. 2100. This card cannot be normal summoned. For the first summon, it can only be special summoned using Mangekyo, Magnificent Clone. It's not over yet. Because there's a level 6 or higher Condor Lady monster on the field, this card in my hand can also be special summoned. Peacock Dance slapped a card onto the duel board, dragging the crystal ball in one hand, and Condor Lady, in a new form, appeared before everyone. Condor Foresight, 4-star bird type, ATK. 1300, Def. 1400. This card's card name is treated as Condor Lady as long as it exists on the field or in the graveyard. Activate this card only if you control a level 5 or higher Condor monster. Special summon this card from your hand. Activate this card only if this card is normal summoned special summoned successfully. During this turn's end phase, select a spell or trap with Condor Lady in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Draw a card, and now it's time for battle. I'm going to attack Kilgaz with the Condor Sisters. Malik's life points. 4000-3850. Condor Seer, Condor Harpist, direct attack you. Just as the Condor Sisters destroyed Kilgaz, and the remaining 2 Condor Ladies were about to attack Malik directly, significantly reducing his life points, Malik, with a sinister smile, opened his previously hidden card. Activate Trap card, Lifeline. This card's effect activates by discarding all cards in your hand when a monster is sent to the graveyard as a result of battle. That monster gains 800 ATK and is special summoned. Come back, Kilgus. Kilgus is ATK. 1800 to 2600. According to Seiya's previous card rules, the battle phase should have been an attack rollback mechanic. Peacock Dance's 2 Condor girls had already issued their attack orders, and Kilgus, with its increased ATK, should have counterattacked. But this is Yu-Gi-Oh! DM, with its confusing rules that Seiya himself didn't understand. Anyway, because Malik suddenly resurrected the monster, Peacock Dance's attack was cancelled, and the turn ended. Chapter 202 The Powerful Ability of the Phoenix. Because my turn has ended, using the effect of Condor Forecaster, I can add a spell trap card featuring Condor Lady to my hand. Although I didn't use a direct attack to significantly reduce Malik's life points, I now have 3 more monsters on the Peacock Dance field. And through the monster's special effect, I've already secured the key card I wanted. Meanwhile, Malik, having just activated Life Thread, added a monster with 2600 ATK to the field, but the price he paid was that he was now at 0 cards. If he doesn't draw a key card next time, he'll soon lose his advantage. Don't be careless. He activated Heart Thread not just to prevent a significant life point drop. He probably has other intentions, such as deliberately putting a card in the graveyard. Forget about trying to seize the God card for your own use. Whether you can control it or not is a question of whether you can control it. Among the 3 God cards, Winged Dragon is a special one. To use its ability, you must also be able to chant the spell, so the best approach is to defeat it head-on, as the system quest instructs. Glancing at the monsters on her field and the cards in her hand, Kongwu couldn't help but look at her face with a look of relief. However, just as she was about to relax, Seiya suddenly appeared from behind her, warning her not to underestimate the enemy. Honestly, if this were a game played by Seiya's former card master, Malik's use of his hand to push the graveyard would have been a suicidal move. His deck wasn't a deck like the Eternal Flame deck, which required a 0-card deck. Activating Life Thread by discarding all cards in his hand would have been a surefire way to defeat him in his former game. Unfortunately, this wasn't a game played by the former card master. Kongwu wasn't facing a mere third-rate character, but the boss of the Duel City chapter. As everyone knows, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, the protagonists and antagonists typically have a few special moves, from the unshuffled opening to the Sky Lake opening, to the whatever you want and on-the-spot card printing in a losing situation. My turn, draw a card, activate Pot of Greed from your hand, and draw 2 more cards from your deck. Seiya had barely finished speaking when Malik played a card that had been banned from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series for all eternity. Upon seeing the 2 cards drawn from the deck, Malik's expression became one of extreme frenzy and excitement. Ha 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 ha, I was hoping you'd struggle for a few more turns, but now it seems the darkness can't wait to devour your soul. Activate the spell card Resurrection of the Dead from your hand. And needless to say, I'm going to be resurrected. Awaken from the graveyard and descend upon my field. Kami, God. A massive cross suddenly appeared in the sky above Malik, followed by a pair of flaming wings extending from either side. A resounding cry echoed, and a raging heat wave instantly engulfed the entire arena. That Malik guy already had a god card in his hand, but he used life thread to send it to the graveyard. Watching the flaming figure appear in the air, President Kaba and the others couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Ra's Winged Dragon, 10-star Abyss Beast, attack 0, defense 0. Compared to the copy card Lishad had used previously, the arrival of the true god card, Winged Dragon, instantly overwhelmed the entire arena with its astonishing momentum. And because they were in a dark duel, the pressure and momentum of the god card were even more tangible and real. Has Malik gone mad? Spell and trap cards have no effect on god cards, so even if they used Resurrection of the Dead, Winged Dragon would be returned to the graveyard at the end of their turn. Pteranodon's special ability is to use the total attack power of the sacrifices as its own attack power, so now Pteranodon's attack power is only 0. With only 0 attack power, even a god card can't defeat Dancing's Condor Girl. Compared to Janouchi, who had already started to mock Malik, Yami Yuji and Kaba both looked solemn. Because they knew very well that Malik would never make such a low-level mistake. In addition to using the total attack power of the sacrifices as its own attack power, Ra's Pteranodon must have other special abilities. Let me tell you, the real horror of Pteranodon. Ra has 3 special abilities, and the one I'm going to use now is his second special ability. Paying 1000 LP points allows Ra to transform into a phoenix and destroy all monsters on the opponent's field. God Phoenix. As Malik finished chanting the ancient spell with his hands crossed, his LP dropped from 3850 to 2850. As Malik chanted this spell, Ra suddenly let out a cry that resounded through the sky, and his body instantly transformed into a giant firebird, instantly turning all the Condor girls on the Peacock dance field into ashes. The flames of God shattered the monsters, and because it was an effect destruction, the Peacock dance did not gain any LP damage. But because this was a dark duel, the pain and impact received by the destroyed monsters also acted on the Peacock dance. A huge pillar of fire enveloped the Peacock dance's body, and when the flames gradually subsided, it seemed as if it had been severely damaged, and it collapsed directly to the ground. Don't think that this is the end. Next I'm going to use the God Phoenix to directly attack the Peacock dance. Are you ready to bear the wrath of God? Ha 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 ha. The Phoenix God has only 0 attack, so even direct damage can't reduce Peacock dance's LP, but now it's a dark duel, and since the monster's attacks are all direct full-scale impacts, the act of using Malik is just to completely destroy Peacock dance. After all, even a god with 0 attack power can cause psychological trauma that is far beyond the reach of ordinary duel monsters. Activate the trap card Hysterical Party. Peacock dance, with a lot of smoke coming out of his body, opened his eyes with difficulty, looked at the flames falling from the sky again, and slowly opened his face-up card. Muta. Trap cards have no effect on gods. I know that ordinary trap cards have no effect on god cards, but the effect of Hysterical Party requires discarding 1 card from your hand to activate this card. Special summon as many Condor girls as possible from your graveyard, and all these summoned monsters will be destroyed at the end of the turn. Trap cards have no effect on gods, they act directly on god cards. Peacock Dance's trap cards use monsters from the graveyard as shields, allowing them to activate naturally. With flashing lights, 5 Condor girls, including the 3 Condor girls, instantly filled the Peacock Dance arena. The God Phoenix, with only 0 attack, couldn't even defeat the Condor girls, who had only 1300 attack, so it naturally had to stop attacking. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 The Noble Power of the Hanno Knights. Tisk, using a monster in the graveyard as a shield, you managed to dodge the god's attack. But I still have a monster on my field that hasn't attacked yet. Kilgaz, attack the Condor Lady with the lowest ATK. The Phoenix's special ability can only be used once per turn. Even though it's a god card, With 0 ATK, it can't defeat the Condor Lady facing Peacock Dance, so Malik naturally had to give up. However, besides the Phoenix, Malik also had Immortal Bone Monster on his field, whose ATK increased to 2,600 thanks to Life Thread, so, the Condor Lady, with only 1,300 ATK, was directly split in two by the opponent's axe. Peacock Dance was also sent flying backwards by the impact. Peacock Dance's LP. 2,650 to 1,350. Face down, my turn is over. As Malik declared his turn over, the Phoenix on his field burst into flames and returned to the graveyard. Similarly, the specially summoned Condor Ladies on the Peacock Dance field were also destroyed and returned to the graveyard at the end of their turns. Thanks to the trap cards, you've managed to survive another turn, but your life isn't your life force, it's your mind and body. How many more attacks from the gods can you withstand? Looking at the Peacock Dance, which was now struggling to even stand, Malik burst into a savage laugh. As for Yami Yuji and Kaba, who were watching the match, they also felt a sense of dread after witnessing the special abilities of the God Phoenix. Although both were God cards, anyone with a discerning eye could see that Ra's Winged Dragon was significantly stronger than the other two God cards, Osiris Sky Dragon and Obelix Colossus. The God Phoenix's power was so powerful that even the Sky Dragon and Colossus, also God cards, couldn't withstand it. Furthermore, compared to the other two God cards, which required 3 sacrifices, the cost of using the God Phoenix was far too low. With just Resurrection of the Dead and 1,000 life points, plus the other monsters on the field, a single kill is easy. If Peacock Dancer hadn't just covered his card, and taken a 2,600 point direct attack from Gilgas, his life points would have been reduced to just 50. No, let alone Gilgas's direct attack, Peacock Dancer wouldn't have been able to withstand even a direct attack from Ra's Winged Dragon. My turn, draw a card. I also activate the spell card Resurrection of the Dead from my hand to revive Condor Lady Sisters. Next, I normal summon Condor Lady Perfumer from my hand. Condor Lady Perfumer, 4-star bird type, 1,400 ATK, 1,300 F. As long as this card's name exists on the field or in the graveyard, treat it as Condor Lady. You can only activate this card if it is normal summoned or special summoned. Add 1 spell trap card with the name Condor Girls from your deck to your hand. If this card is activated while you control a level 5 or higher Condor monster, you can limit this to a maximum of 2. Activate the special effect of Condor Perfumer. Since I control a level 5 or higher Condor monster, I will add Kaleidoscope, Glorious Transformation and Triangle Carnival Lightning to my hand. Activate the card Kaleidoscope, Glorious Transformation I just added to my hand and special summon another Condor Girls from my deck. Then, since I already control 2 or more Condor monsters, I will special summon Condor, Chestnut Ball from my hand. Activate the continuous spell card Unity of the Clan to increase the ATK of all beast-type monsters on my field by 800. Activate the spell card Triangle Carnival Lightning. The effect of this card increases the ATK of all Condor Girls on the field to 2,700 until the end of this turn. Activate the special effect of Condor, Kuribama to increase the ATK of this card by 300 times the number of Condor monsters on the field and in the graveyard. With Peacock Dance's dazzling maneuvers, 4 monsters suddenly appeared on its previously empty field. Their attack power was as follows: Condor Perfumer 1,400 plus 800 equals 2,200 Condor Girls. 1950 to 2,700 plus 800 equals 3,500 Condor Chestnut Ball. 300 plus 800 plus 300 x 9 equals 3,800. Looking at the attack power of the Condor monsters on the Peacock Dance field, not to mention Janouchi and Isis, even Yami Yuji and Kaba were stunned. After all, even they had never expected that Peacock Dance would be able to reorganize its formation so quickly and complete a counterattack after being cleared by the God Phoenix in one turn. To be honest, the monsters on Malik's field with 2,600 attack power are outstanding even among high-level monsters. It was already difficult for Peacock Dance to summon a monster with an empty field that could defeat this attack power. But Peacock Dance not only did it, but also achieved a major comeback in a single turn. The combined attack power of our 4 monsters now exceeded 10,000. If this wave of attacks succeeded, Malik wouldn't even have a chance to fight until the next turn. It's over, Malik. I'm going to attack Gilgas with Condor Chestnut. Both the Condor Girls and Condor Chestnut had higher attack power than Malik's monsters. As for why he chose Condor Chestnut to attack first, It was naturally because it had a certain degree of trap resistance. Open the card, Holy Shield, Mirror Force. Malik, with a grim smile on his face, activated the trap card he had just covered. Come to your own destruction, Peacock Dance. With your level of dueling skills, you still dare to dream of defeating me? It's ridiculous. And when he saw the sublime power of Hanno and heard what Malik said, Seiya rolled his eyes speechlessly. What a fucking dueling level. This has nothing to do with dueling skills. That bastard Malik is obviously just lucky. He was originally empty-handed, but ended up with a perpetually banned card Pot of Greed, and then the two cards drawn from Pot of Greed were Resurrection of the Dead and the Mirror Shield of the Power of the Knights of Hanno. Is there anything more outrageous than this? As Seiya smashed the Mirror Shield, the shield fragments like glass shards instantly pierced all the other Condor girls on the Peacock Dance field. However, just when everyone thought the situation would be reversed like this, Peacock Dance spoke again. Activate the last special effect of Condor Chestnut Ball. When there are Condor girls other than him on the field, this card cannot be destroyed by battle, nor can it be destroyed by the effects of monsters, magic, and traps. Because the first attack was Condor Chestnut Ball, the trap card's rebound effect also destroyed it first, but at this moment, the other Condor girls on my field have not been destroyed, so this destruction has no effect on Condor Chestnut Ball. When hearing Peacock Dance's forced nonsense, Seiya also fell silent. And it was precisely because of her words that not only Yuji and Kaba and the others, but even the opponent Malik said damn it and silently accepted it. Chapter 204 The Unkillable Villain Boss. Because the special effect of Condor Chestnut Ball increases the attack power of monsters on the field and in the graveyard, even if the other Condor girls are destroyed, its attack power remains unchanged at 3,800. Gilgas, a tall and powerful man with 2,600 attack power, was instantly shattered by a single kick from a fluffy ball. After destroying Gilgas, Condor Chestnut Ball flew directly in front of Malik and smacked his arrogant, twisted face with a single claw. This smack sent Malik crashing to the ground face first, sending him sliding over 10 meters. Malik's LP. 2,850, 1,650. Damn it, you darting monster. I won't let you die so easily. Later, I'll make sure you experience the wrath of God. No one could have imagined that a mere one-star monster, besides its special effect of increasing attack power, would possess such formidable damage resistance. It's indestructible by battle and immune to the effects of monsters, spells, and traps. In some ways, it's even comparable to a God card. While God cards are invulnerable to the effects of monsters, spells, and traps, or have only a one-turn effect, this one-star, small monster only has destruction resistance. While God cards can be destroyed by battle, they have the special effect of being immune to battle destruction. Comparing the two, the God card is undoubtedly stronger, but its summoning conditions are far more demanding than those of Condor Chestnut Ball. My turn, draw a card. Malik's field was completely empty, both in the monster zone and the magic trap zone. He also had no cards in his hand, leaving Peacock Dance with the advantage. However, the opponent quickly demonstrated to Seiya once again what a desperate draw means. The spell card God's Treasure card activated from his hand. This card's effect causes both players to draw 6 cards from their hands. Yes, you heard it right. Cards like Pot of Greed that exchange 1 for 2 are listed as perennially banned cards. However, the so-called God-given treasure card has a terrifying effect of 1 for 6 when it is empty-handed. Of course, such an outrageous effect can only appear in animations. In fact, its effect is so outrageous that, except for the DM in the very early stage, this card was even permanently banned in the later stage. Looking at Malik with a hideous smile on his face, licking his tongue, washing his face with his tongue as if possessed by Snake Uncle, and drawing cards with the ultimate facial expression, Seiya was completely speechless. Sure enough, the boss is the boss, and it is not so easy to kill the opponent. Activate the magic card Premature Burial from your hand, pay 800 LP, special summon a monster in the graveyard, and equip this card as an equipment card. Malik's LP. 1650-850. A tombstone appeared before Malik, and the previously destroyed overworked monster, Gilgas, instantly broke free and appeared on Malik's field. Next, I'll sacrifice the resurrected Gilgas to high-level summon Legendary Demon. Legendary Demon, 6-star demon type, 1500 attack, 1800 defense, activate Legendary Demon special effect. During each of your standby phases, gain 700 attack, legendary demons attack. 1500 to 2200. Seeing Malik summon another powerful high-level monster in just one turn, the spectators couldn't help but worry about Peacock Dance. However, Jinauchi confidently stated, "It's fine. Even with the attack boost, legendary demon only has 2200 attack. With that level of attack power, it can't even touch the feet of Condor." Kirito, Seiya, who had been summoned and was playing on the field, rolled his eyes at Jinauchi's words. "No, boy, don't set a flag for me. You're just complaining that he's not dying fast enough, aren't you? HMPH, don't I know about this? Wasn't that monster just now quite arrogant? Don't think you can stay on the field just because you angered me. Activate the spell card Earthfall. This card's effect destroys the lowest attack monster on your opponent's field. You only have one monster on the field, so the one that will be destroyed is undoubtedly this damned small monster. And although your Condor, Kirito, has the special effect of being immune to destruction, that special effect requires a Condor girl other than him to be on the field. Now go to hell." As Earthfall was slapped onto the duel disc, a huge crack suddenly appeared in the ground, extending towards Seiya's position at an extremely fast speed. As Malik watched the giant hand reach out from the abyss, snatching up Seiya and dragging him underground, he burst into a hearty laugh. Malik, the hot-tempered child, never took revenge overnight. His father had once tattooed him, only to have him stabbed to death with a Millennium Scepter. That monster had just dealt him a blow. How could he allow it to continue its rampage on the field? Activate Counter Trap card Royal Order. As long as this card is in the spell and trap zone, the effects of all spell cards on the field are negated. The controller of this card pays 700 life points during each standby phase. Alternatively, instead of paying 700 life points, destroy this card. Just as Seiya's body was about to be dragged underground, Peacock Dance opened his face-down card. A majestic king, crowned with a kingdom, suddenly appeared and extended a hand, negating and destroying the earth-shattering before Malik. Tisk, as tenacious as a bug. I face down a card, and the turn ends. Malik was frustrated at not being able to destroy Condor Chestnut Ball as he'd hoped. After all, that previous turn had been his best chance. If Peacock Dance summoned another Condor girl, that damned small monster would not only have its attack power increased, but its immunity to destruction would also be quite a problem. I'll let you linger for one more turn until I draw the key card that revives the God card. With a single kill from God Phoenix, your monsters will be nothing but a bunch of small fry to be slaughtered. My turn, draw a card. Peacock Dance was now shaky, having been affected by the successive arc duels. Glancing at the card in his hand, his brow furrowed slightly. Not this card, Condor. Kirito's special effect is powerful, but as Malik said, no matter how many Condor ladies you summon, they can't stand up to Ra's Winged Dragon's Phoenix. To win this duel, she must draw the key card Seiya gave her before the duel. Chapter 205 Tongshin Proxy is online again. Because Royal Mandate requires 700 life points to maintain, and I can't use spell cards myself, I'll destroy it now. Then, I'll summon Condor Lady, Cyber Tights from my hand and use Condor, Chestnut Ball to attack Legendary Demon. Malik's life points were now only 850. If the attack succeeded, Peacock Dance would have won immediately. But a glance at the opponent's face-down cards revealed that things weren't going to be this simple. Because Condor, Chestnut Ball had some resistance to traps due to the presence of other Condor Lady cards on the field, Peacock Dance attacked without hesitation. She had no choice but to attack. Otherwise, if the opponent summoned another God card and used God Phoenix to clear their monsters, and then attacked directly with other monsters, she would be killed instantly. In this situation, the best way to deal with it was to maintain a healthy life points and destroy as many monsters as possible on Malik's field. This was why Peacock Dance hadn't spent any life points to maintain Royal Mandate. Her life points are only 1,650. If she destroys Legendary Demon, even if the opponent uses God Phoenix next turn, they'll have to summon a monster with this much ATK to instantly kill her. You want to destroy the monsters on my field to avoid a one-shot kill during the turn the god has summoned? Do you think I'm so naive and defenseless? I reveal the trap card Nightmare Fence. As long as this card is on the field, monsters on the field cannot attack. After activating this card, it remains on the field and is destroyed during the opponent's end phase. After the second turn counted by the opponent's number of turns, a spiked fence suddenly appeared, trapping both Peacock Dancer and Malik's monsters. Seeing that her attack was ineffective, Peacock Dancer could only face another card and reluctantly end her turn. Nightmare Fence has a global effect, so when it was Malik's turn, his monsters couldn't attack either. Because of Nightmare Fence, my monsters can't attack, but I can summon new ones, summon Reborn Slime from your hand, and thanks to the special effect of Legendary Demon, its attack power will be increased again. The Legendary Demon's attack power is 2200 to 2900, Reborn Slime, 4-star Aqua, 1500 ATK, 500 F. Activate the continuous spell card Slime Multiplier. During your standby phase, special summon 1 slime token, Aqua, Water, 1-star, ATK Def 500, to your field in attack position. Although he can't attack, Malik now has 2 more monsters on the field, clearly preparing for a decisive kill. That bastard Malik, while using nightmare bars to protect himself and wait for the key card to use God Phoenix, he's using the chain effect of Legendary Demon to increase his attack power. If Peacock Dance doesn't find a way to destroy Devil's Bars, she's practically doomed to lose this duel. Upon hearing Cable's evaluation, Janouchi and the others immediately began to clamor in dissatisfaction. But the president was as arrogant as ever and said, facing the God card, "It is worthy of pride to be able to beat it to this extent. Thanks to Peacock Dance, we at least saw the terrifying special ability of Ra's Pterosaur, but in this regard, she is much better than a mediocre duelist." As if to verify what Kaba said, when it was Peacock Dance's turn, she did not draw the magical feather broom to destroy Malik's trap card, but had no choice but to end her turn. However, just when she announced the end of the turn, the effect of Nightmare Bars also disappeared. "My turn, draw a card." Malik paused for a moment after glancing at the card he'd drawn. Then, he glanced at the Peacock Dancer before him and said, "Peacock Dancer, your luck is truly unfortunate. It looks like this turn, your soul will be completely sacrificed to darkness. I activate the quick play spell Unusual Food to destroy the slime multiplier on my field and restore 1000 life points. Then, I activate the spell card Philosopher's Stone again to discard 2 cards from my hand and add a spell card from the graveyard to my hand. The spell card I'm adding is undoubtedly Resurrection of the Dead. I'll activate the newly added Resurrection of the Dead to awaken it from the graveyard. Wake up, Kami. Consume 1000 life points to activate God Phoenix and destroy all monsters on your field." With a cry of God Phoenix, the monsters created by Peacock Dance were instantly reduced to ash. This was the first time in many duels that Kirito had been destroyed. As all the monsters were reduced to ash by the God Phoenix, Peacock Dance was once again baptized by a wave of divine fire due to the dark duel. Peacock Dance, already shaky, erupted in white smoke from this attack and collapsed. Just as Malik saw Peacock Dance unconscious and collapsed, he drew his Millennium Scepter, ready to completely immerse her in darkness, when a flash of light suddenly deflected his dark power. "Your turn isn't over yet, is it? I'll be your opponent next." Seeing his dark power being deflected, Malik was stunned for a moment, then glanced at Peacock Dance, whose demeanor had changed dramatically. He suddenly understood and laughed. "So, you've got yourself out again? But it doesn't matter. Both you and she will become sacrifices to darkness this time. Winged Dragon, attack, activate the trap card Hysterical Ball." This card's effect needs no further explanation, right? 5 Condor Ladies were special summoned from the graveyard to Seiya's front, and Ra's Winged Dragon had only 0 ATK, so he was naturally forced to interrupt at this moment. "Huh? Do you think the same trick will always work? The monsters special summoned on your field are all in attack position. And the Legendary Demon now has an ATK of 3600. Legendary Demon, attack me with a Condor Perfumer with an ATK of 1400. Seiya's lifespan is only 1650, and if the opponent's attack is successful this time, the 2200 damage calculation will be enough to send Seiya away. However, just as the Legendary Demon attacked, Seiya opened another face-down card of Peacock Dance. Activate the trap card Condor Ladies, Suzaku Formation. It can be activated when there are 2 or more Condor Ladies on the field. The battle damage caused by the opponent's monsters becomes 0. Several Condor girls on the Seiya field formed a formation and transformed into fiery red Suzaku, directly knocking back the Legendary Demon with an attack power of 3600. Chapter 206 Seiya, it's just printing cards, everyone can do that. Tisk, I got dodged again. Set a card, end turn. As Malik declared his turn over, The special summon Winged Dragon and Seiya's Condor Lady all return to the graveyard. My turn, draw a card, activate the spell card Resurrection of the Dead to revive Condor, Chestnut Ball from the graveyard, Condor Chestnut Ball's ATK. 4100. With another Condor Lady sent to the graveyard, his ATK increased again. Set 2 cards, then I'll use Condor Chestnut Ball to attack the slime token you control. The slime token only has 500 ATK and can't be in defense position. If the attack succeeds, the difference in damage will kill Malik instantly. Activate the continuous trap card Defending Slime. When your opponent's monster attacks your monster, if you have a regenerating slime on your field, you can use this monster to destroy it instead. Malik's regenerating slime was in defense position, so even though it served as a shield, its destruction didn't cost it any life points. My turn, draw a card. Although Seiya's attack was once again blocked by Malik, he still had cards face up on his field, and Malik's life points were only 850, not enough to use Wyvern's special ability, God Phoenix. I have to say, I never expected a small-time player like you to be pushed to this point. But your chance is over. This turn, I'll show you the true power of Wyvern. Upon hearing Malik's words, Yami Yuji, Kaba, and the others observing the battle were also surprised. After all, they hadn't expected Wyvern's special ability, which was already significantly stronger than the other 2 god cards, to have another ability? HMPH, I think Malik was just bluffing. Now Mai has Condor Chestnut Ball with 4100 ATK on the field. Malik's other monsters couldn't defeat Condor, Kirito, and his life points weren't high enough to use God Phoenix. What other tricks could he possibly have? Hearing Janouchi continue to set his sights, Seiya was speechless. However, Yami Yuji soon realized Malik's intentions and exclaimed in surprise, "Masuga, what's wrong with you, Yuji? Do you really believe Malik still has a chance of a comeback?" Malik has 3 monsters on the field right now. Almost as Yami Yuji finished his words, Malik burst into a maniacal laugh, as expected of the nameless pharaoh. "It's just as you expected. I'm going to activate the spell card Reincarnation from my hand. Discard a card from my hand and add a monster from the graveyard to my hand. Return to my hand, Ra's Winged Dragon. I have 3 monsters on the field, and the god card has returned to my hand. You should all know what this means, right? Come, witness the coming of God, and then plunge into the abyss of despair. I'll sacrifice 3 monsters on my field, Legendary Devil, Reborn Slime, and Slime Diffraction, to summon Ra's Winged Dragon." As Malik slapped the god card in his hand onto the duel board, a dazzling golden light suddenly enveloped the entire field. Soon, a golden sphere, like a sun, appeared before everyone. Activate Ra's Winged Dragon's special ability. Ra's attack power is the sum of the monsters sacrificed. So now his attack power is 500, Slime Diffraction, plus 1500, Reborn Slime, plus 3600, Legendary Devil, equals 5600. We're not done yet. Finally, I will activate Ra's 3rd special ability, which is to merge with God, leaving only a small amount of life force. The remaining life force will be increased by an equal amount to Ra's attack power. Malik's life force 850-1. Ra's Winged Dragon's attack power 5600-6449. Attack power 6400. Oh no. Dance's Condor, Kirito only has 4100 ATK. If it takes this hit, Dance will truly lose. Disappear completely. Divine Flame Cannon. Having dedicated all his life points to Shenron, Malik's soul has now merged with it, and his body has appeared on Shenron's forehead. As he issued the attack command, a scorching flame instantly burst out from Shenron, scorching the entire earth. Activate Trap Card. Oh my god, trap cards are useless against gods. Even if you use that trap card that summons small monsters from the graveyard, it will be shattered by God. The trap card I activated doesn't affect god cards, but my own monsters. Activate the trap card power-up. Increase the ATK of an attack position monster you control by 1500 until the end of the turn. Condor, Kurabana ATK. 4100, 5600. But even so, Pterosaur's ATK is higher. Turn to dust, you damned small monster. As Condor, Kurabana was completely engulfed in flames, Seiya's body was blown back several steps by the heat wave. Peacock Dance, Seiya, LP 1650, 801. You are covering the trap card that increases the ATK of monsters on the field? Unfortunately, I saw through your idea a long time ago. If he hadn't fused with a god and increased his ATK again, the attack just now would have been equal to that of your small monster, and both of them would have killed each other, right? Although he still couldn't defeat Seiya, Malik was still thrilled to have once again destroyed all of Seiya's monsters. His only regret was that the soul now controlling Peacock Dancer was significantly stronger than the previous one. After taking the divine blow, his body merely retreated a few steps, not even uttering a wail or a cry of pain. Casually waving away the flames before him, Seiya gazed at the winged dragon, its special effects fully activated, a look of seriousness on his face. The god cards in the anime were far more powerful than the real cards he had played in his previous life. Forget about anything else, the triple resistance to monsters, spells, and traps alone meant that only a handful of monsters could currently defeat a god card. It would be fine if the god card was so resilient, but the opponent was also a complete stunt, with a buff aura that granted whatever it wished. It was simply outrageous. If the other party is so lame, then don't blame him for using illegal third-party software. It's just printing cards, pretending he can't do it. Just a mere god card, this time he's going to summon a groundbreaking wave, showing the pharaohs and priests in the audience what a card master's true strength is. It's my turn, draw a card. Chapter 207, a groundbreaking summoning, a synchronized summoning. As Seiya drew a card from his deck, a burst of white light instantly covered the card surface. Don't ask why, Seiya was just starting to print cards. This action, among the protagonists, is often called believing in your deck, so the cards respond. I'm activating the spell card Metamorphosis from my hand. This card's effect can only be activated if there are Condor, Kurikoma and 5 or more Condor Girl monsters in the graveyard. Based on this card's effect, I can special summon Condor, Kurikoma and 1 Condor Girl to the field. So I special summon Condor, Kurikoma and Condor Girl sisters. Without a doubt, the card in Seiya's hand, Metamorphosis, depicting Condor, Kurikoma with its wings glowing and its claws clasped in prayer, was one he had printed on the spot. Possessing a virtual world seed, he possessed the ability to print cards, but the cards he created must conform to the rules of dual monsters and not disrupt the balance. The more powerful a card, the more demanding its use conditions or the greater the cost. Seiya's newly printed Feathering, with its demanding use conditions, was definitely enough to justify the effect of his special summoning 2 monsters. Seeing Seiya special summon 2 more monsters, Malik remained unfazed. Even if Condor, Kurib were revived again, its ATK would only be 4,100, far from a match for Winged Dragon. There are 2 monsters on the field. Next, I'm going to use the 1-star Condor, Kurib and the 6-star Condor Lady Sisters to coordinate. Storm wings tear through the sky, and a magnificent figure soars to the summit. Synchro Summon, Condor Knight, Kurib, as Seiya stacked Condor, Kurib and Condor Lady Sisters. The Condor Lady Sisters suddenly transformed into 6 stars, while Condor, Kurib transformed into Green Ring. As the 6 stars passed through the ring, a beam of light instantly shot down from the sky. When this brand new white card appeared on Seiya's dual disc, a flood of electric sparks erupted, even causing the surrounding machinery to temporarily malfunction. Clearly, while synchro summoning complies with the rules of this world, current levels of dueling and equipment are not yet capable of handling such a powerful force. However, this wasn't a problem for Seiya. As the ultimate expert, he had already modified the Peacock Dance dual disc. All he had to do now was hack into the virtual system using a virtual world seed and reprogram it. As long as the rules of the world allowed, everything else wouldn't be a problem. Even the synchro summoning alone shouldn't be a problem for now, let alone the Ziz summoning. Soon, a pair of white wings extended from the beam of light, which instantly shattered. A figure, shrouded in shadow, slowly emerged before everyone. She is just an eagle girl wearing knight armor, with a helmet shaped like a chestnut ball and a pair of white wings spread out behind her. When she falls from the sky, she looks more like a valkyrie than a knight. Yami Uji and Kaba, Cyrillic lettered X, Malik. When Condor Knight Kuritama appeared before them, everyone present fell silent. Even when Malik had summoned the god card before, no one present had been so shocked. But it wasn't their fault. After all, the summoning method used by Peacock Dance, Seiya, was something they had never seen, let alone even heard of. During the UGODM era, advanced summoning was the norm. and duelists who mastered special infusion summoning were considered experts. The so-called synchronic summoning was beyond their imagination. However, it turned out that the people in this world were generally receptive. In their view, as long as a monster was successfully summoned and appeared on the field, it meant the summoning method was within the rules. As for whether they had ever seen such a monster or summoning method, it simply showed their ignorance. After all, the world of duel is vast, and since the virtual imaging device was working correctly, it meant the opponent was not breaking the rules. What an amazing summoning method! Synchro summoning? Where does Mai get this power? Janouchi wasn't the only one who was thrilled. Everyone else present shared this question. Synchro summoning, since monsters could be summoned, it undoubtedly meant it was a new power. They were equally curious about how Peacock Dance had acquired this powerful new power. However, what Yami and the others didn't know was that Peacock Dance, who had regained some consciousness and was now watching Seiya fight, glanced at the valiant Condor Knight, Kirito, on her own field, and was equally bewildered. While others wondered about synchro summoning, Peacock Dance wanted to know too. With such an amazing summoning method, could she, Peacock Dance, be able to control it herself? Seiya was using her body. Her things were Seiya's, and his things were hers. It couldn't be that this power was exclusive to him, could it? Regardless, with such a cool and powerful power, Peacock Dance would definitely seek Seiya's advice. At worst, she'd have to offer some of her charms. Synchronous summoning? I've never seen a summoning method before, and a monster I've never seen before. Who the hell are you, man? Malik's composure faded as he gazed at the synchro monster before Seiya. After all, facing an unknown force, creatures feel wary and fearful. It's natural. As you can see, I'm just Peacock Dancer. With my figure and looks, do I need to be an imposter? Synchro monsters may be summoned a little differently, but they're really no different from ordinary monsters. Malik naturally didn't believe a single word of what Seiya said. Although he was tempted to report Seiya for impersonating him, the thought that he wasn't the same Malik silenced him. Let's get back to the point. Think about it, it's clear this synchro monster I went to so much trouble to special summon couldn't possibly be without a special effect. So, I'm going to activate the special effect of Condor Knight, Chestnut Ball, Condor Knight, Chestnut Ball, 7-star Bird Beast Tribe, Synchro Monster, Attack. 2500 Defense. 2100 Effect, as long as this card's name exists on the field or in the graveyard, treat it as Condor Lady. Once per turn, special summon a Condor Lady monster from the graveyard to the field, or add a spell or trap with Condor Lady from the deck or graveyard to your hand. When this battle card is destroyed by battle, its damage calculation result is 0. Chapter 208, Seiya's strongest trump card, the Eagle Valkyrie. I'll activate the special effect of Condor Knight, Cure Bane to special summon Condor Lady 1 from the graveyard. Then, I'll normal summon Condor Perfumer from my hand and activate her special effect to add a spell trap with Condor Lady inscribed on it to my hand. Finally, I'll use Condor Knight, Cure Bane to attack Roswing Dragon, Condor Knight, Cure Bane's ATK. 2500 plus 300, Condor Lady 1, plus 800, Unity of the Clan, equals 3600. Are you crazy? Even if you summon an unknown monster, a mere 3600 ATK can't even touch the feet of a god. Rah, hit her back. Divine Flame Cannon, the Condor Knight extended his claws, flapped the wings behind him, and rushed towards the pterosaur of La fearlessly. However, just as Malik said, even though the attack power has increased a lot, the attack power of 3600 is still far behind the pterosaur with an attack power of nearly 6500. Although the cards of God are powerful, there are always creatures who dare to face the power of God. Activate another special ability of Condor Knight, Cure Bana. When this card is destroyed by battle, the damage calculation result is 0. But I will not make meaningless attacks. The sacrifice of the knight is often accompanied by glory. Activate the magic card Glory Baptism of Condor Girl. The day when the broken sword is reforged, the time when the knight returns. The effect of this card can only be activated when there is Condor Knight, Cure Bana in the graveyard. Tribute 2 Condor Girls on the field and special summon Condor Girl, War God from the deck, graveyard, and hand. Monster special summon from the deck. Malik exclaimed in shock. A flood of chains erupted from the ground, followed by a long sword suddenly falling from the sky. Just as it was about to hit the ground, a clawed hand caught it. The figure holding the long sword swung it through the air, instantly cleaving the endless chains in two. The bound figure behind the chains now appeared before everyone. A pair of pristine white wings spanning over 5 meters. Her fiery figure was clad in cool leather armor. Broken chains adorned her wrists and ankles, and a chestnut-shaped tattoo adorned her waist. Condor Girl, Valkyrie, 8-star bird beast tribe, attack. 3000, defense. 2500, related description, a Condor Knight, having endured countless trials, freed herself from her shackles and surpassed her limits, now blessed with an unknown power. She is the Valkyrie among the Condor girls, and the strongest of her clan. This monster is incredibly oppressive. With such demanding summoning requirements, it must possess some truly astonishing special abilities. When Condor Lady, War God descended, everyone present was stunned by its formidable aura. If divine cards convey a powerful sense of oppression and majesty, then the appearance of Condor Lady, War God now conveys an aura of transcendental power and surging fighting spirit. Even facing a god, she dares to challenge her own possibilities, wielding her endless will to strike back. Activate the special ability of Condor Lady, War God. This card increases the ATK by 500 times the number of Condor Lady on the field or in the graveyard. So, including her own ATK, plus my continuous magic unity of the clan, her ATK is now, Condor Lady, War God ATK. 3000 plus 11x 500 plus 800 equals 9300, 9300 attack points. Impossible. How could a monster surpass a god on this world? Malik, and everyone watching, were stunned upon seeing the attack power of Condor Lady, War God. Nearly 10,000 attack points was probably the highest attack power figure ever seen. Even the current pterosaur only managed 6,500. Nothing is impossible. Even the most powerful gods are not invincible. A Condor Lady, trained to the highest level, possesses limitless potential. Even a god could defeat her. Condor Lady, War God, attacked pterosaur. The Condor Lady, with a dashing presence, slowly drew her long sword. She cast a contemptuous glance at the pterosaur before her, then flapped her massive wings and launched herself at it. At the same moment, Malik, looking panicked, suddenly cracked another sinister smirk and said, "Activate the trap card Explosive Armor and destroy yourself, you so-called Valkyrie." Explosive Armor destroys the opponent's attacking monster, a rather crude effect. Naive. You didn't think the Condor Valkyrie, with its demanding summoning requirements, had only one special ability, did you? Having honed her skills to the highest level and freed herself from her shackles, the Condor Valkyrie possesses the power to overcome all difficulties. Activate the other special ability of Condor Lady Valkyrie. Once per turn, banish one Condor Lady from your graveyard. For the rest of this turn, all effects, including monsters, spells, and traps, negate and destroy it. Condor Valkyrie, carry on Condor Lady's legacy and shatter that trap card. As the soul of the Condor Lady was injected into the sword in the hand of the Condor God, the long sword that was originally full of gaps suddenly burst into a brilliant light and directly pierced through Malik's trap card. Condor Lady, God of War ATK. 9300 to 8800. Since a Condor Lady in the graveyard was excluded, the Condor God of War's ATK was reduced by 500, but with 8800 ATK, it was still more than enough to kill the pterosaur with 6500 ATK. Pull it apart for me, God of War Annihilation. Looking at the Condor God of War that was like a sword splitting the sky, Malik actually had other trap cards on the field, but unfortunately, the resistance immunity obtained by the Condor God of War when he excluded monsters was not for one time, but for this turn. This means that as long as Seiya's turn has not ended, no matter whether it is monster, magic, or trap, it will be ineffective against the Condor God of War. No. You're just a nobody. How could I lose to a piece of trash like you? With a single slash from the Condor God, the massive body of the pterosaur burst forth like a cracked golden statue, emitting a dazzling light before ultimately disintegrating into fragments. Malik, whose life force had dropped to 0, was completely consumed by darkness. The dark duel ended, the black mist gradually dissipating. An array of bright moonlight illuminated the Condor God, who gazed upwards at the sky. Finally, amidst a shower of feathers, the figure vanished into thin air, as if it had never appeared. The third match of the Duel City quarterfinals pitted Peacock Dance against Malik, and Peacock Dance emerged victorious. When the Kaba referee announced the final result, everyone present finally reacted and stared at the Peacock Dance in shock. Chapter 209 Giant Seiya and Pokemon Seiya. Looking at Malik falling to the ground, Yami Yuji, Kaba, Isis, and the others present were all stunned. Although Yami Yuji had hoped that his friend, Malik, would win, he knew that Malik was no easy opponent. But the result was completely unexpected. Before he could even make a move, the villain boss had already been defeated by his friend. HMPH, I didn't expect Malik to win in the end. But this is all well and good. After all, the only one who will collect all 3 god cards and earn the title of Duel King will be me, Seto Kaba. This duel also confirmed one thing: the future you predicted was indeed nonsense. Didn't you say before that Malik would lose to your brother Malik, and that I would lose to you in the next match? Now it seems that your so-called future is indeed ridiculous. Now that Malik has even won, do you think I will lose to you? Looking at Isis beside him, President Kaba said sarcastically. However, Isis did not respond to the president's mocking behavior. Instead, she looked at her 1,000-year-old jewelry, then at the peacock dance on the field, with an expression of disbelief on her face. Although she didn't know what exactly happened, the future seemed to have been changed. The battle between Malik and Peacock Dance was now broadcast live to all parts of the world, and all the duelists who witnessed this scene also showed disbelief at the result. The power of the God card is obvious to all, and Yuji Muto, President Kaba, and Malik, who hold the God card, have always been considered the favorites to win the championship. As for Peacock Dance, to be honest, it does have some strength, but no matter its fame or dueling skills, it cannot be compared with the other 3. But no one could have imagined that Peacock Dance would perform so stunningly in this duel. First, she was perilously close to death under the attacks of the God Phoenix, and finally, she used the unprecedented synchronized summon to achieve the feat of slaying a god. Peacock Dance, without a god card, had already defeated Malik with her Condor deck and the unprecedented synchronized summon. Now, having defeated him and obtained the god card, wouldn't she be even more invincible? Previously, Peacock Dance was considered a distant favorite. But now, having defeated Malik and successfully obtained Ra's Wing Dragon, Peacock Dance instantly went from a marginal contender to a strong favorite to win the championship. Some even believe that Peacock Dance had already been slated to win the championship. After all, no matter how strong Yuji Muto and President Kaba were, they couldn't defeat Peacock Dance, who possessed the God card and could perform a synchronized summon. In a single night, Peacock Dance's name spread across the globe, and her fanbase skyrocketed. Even the number of female duelists has skyrocketed in recent days due to her growing admiration. Being an idol is no longer popular these days, becoming a renowned female duelist is the way to go. Just like Peacock Dance, her value has skyrocketed 100-fold overnight. The idea of rising from humble beginnings to a phoenix in the entertainment industry is now outdated. Becoming a card player, no, a card girl, is the way to go. After winning the competition, Peacock Dance accepted the congratulations of Janouchi and the others. However, when asked about synchro summoning, she looked apprehensive. It wasn't that she was too proud to share such a skill with her friends, but she was simply baffled by the concept of synchro summoning. Finally, with no choice, Peacock Dance retreated to her room, claiming she was mentally traumatized and tired and needed to rest. Upon reaching her room, Kwangwu quickly summoned Seiya and, unleashing her full-throttle seductive skills, coquettishly begged Seiya for the technique of synchro summoning. The so-called synchro summoning is actually a type of special summoning, but it requires materials and a synchro monster to synchronize, and a substance called wandering particles in the dual disc. Wandering particles aren't a product of this era. While they are accepted by the rules of this world, their use should be minimized. As for why I can synchro summon, you can understand it as a power of the system. As for whether you or others can use this power, I have no idea. Gazing at the synchro monster Condor Knight, chestnut ball in her hand, Kwangwu was filled with envy and persistently pestered Seiya to teach her the technique of synchro summoning. Unfortunately, no matter how much Kwangwu offered, even after being completely stripped naked, Seiya still didn't respond. The reason was simple: he had now calmed his mind, his consciousness already in the realm of shared power. 2 newcomers arrived in the dreamlike world. One was a young man wearing a brown leather jacket with 2 pairs of wings, one black and one white, embroidered on his back. The other, no, calling him a person wouldn't be quite right, it was a creature, resembled a fox, but with brown fur and a thick, beast-like tail that took up almost half its body. Since the Seiyas present were all veteran Otakus, the clothing and appearance of the 2 newcomers were enough to tell which world they were from. Seiya, wearing a leather jacket with the wings of freedom embroidered on the back, came from the world of Attack on Titan, while his attire clearly indicated he belonged to the Survey Corps. As for the fox-like Seiya, he came from the world of Pokemon, and at that moment, he resembled one of the most adorable Pokemon characters, Eevee. As the Pokemon with the most evolved forms, Eevee is a very rare and unique Pokemon. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Digimon, the three most cute Pokemon in Seiya's army, you've pretty much rounded them all up. Hearing Sword Seiya's rant, Seiya revealed a look of human anguish. He'd thought being transported to Pokemon was bad enough, but what was even more tragic was that he also possessed a cheat, and the other Seiyas in the cheat were all enjoying high status in other worlds. Having a system was a good thing, after all, it meant he could instantly dominate everything in his own world, but it didn't matter. No matter how powerful he was, even if he could crush a Genesis alpaca, he was still just a Pokemon. Looking at the memories of the Seiyas from other worlds, especially the Rian Seiya, he spent his days either trying to seduce or trying to seduce. Although they were all Seiyas, they shared different fates. While they shared memories and abilities, they would experience the same things, but Seiya still wanted to practice. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 You are the most perverted. Damn it. We're all Seiya, but the disparity in treatment is so huge. I want to go to the R-anime world, too. After watching the R-anime Seiya's memories, Seiya wept with envy. Traveling to the Pokemon world wasn't a big deal, at least he could be a human. Even worse, being a Shota like my Seiya or Conan Seiya would be fine. At least a Shota could grow, even if it couldn't. Being a Shota or something like that wasn't unacceptable, but being an Eevee was truly unacceptable. God bless you. While the other Seiyas were embracing their own worlds, what had Seiya been through? He'd simply taken a nap in the wild, but when he opened his eyes, he was shocked to find another female Eevee envying his beauty, lying on top of him, trying to conceive. Brother, although I sympathize with your situation, I can only say that your way of looking at it is completely wrong. Seiya and I are in our own world, aren't we also non-human beings, but we are just as cool. He found a Lolita poop scooper, and I now find a mature lady tool. We are all Seiya, and you are degrading yourself like this, which makes our Seiya seem useless. Seiya stretched out his claws and patted Seiya on the shoulder like a senior predecessor. And Seiya, who is also a cute creature, also echoed at the side, that's right, brother, you need to open your mind and have a bigger picture. Do you know whose welfare memory is the most popular in this shared space, besides the big boss of the Rian? That's right, it's us two brothers. Good-looking skins are all the same, and the two-dimensional world has no shortage of beautiful girls, but good-looking female-looking Digimon and sister car dual elves are the specialties of our world, and are not available in other worlds. What's wrong with becoming Eevee? In the world of the big boss of the Rian, girls, tentacles and other messy things can be played with a lot of fun. Didn't Latias in the movie Pokemon also become a girl? You still have infinite possibilities waiting for you to explore. Taking a step back, in the world we used to live in, there seem to be quite a few Pokemon books, right? Wouldn't it be more fun to become Eevee? Hearing the words of Bauman and Kiriko-kuma, Seiya was instantly shocked. Even though they were all Seiyas, they were still the most perverted. But after a moment's reflection, Seiya suddenly felt that Bauman and the others had a point. If I'm being unlucky, I'm not much better off. The world of Attack on Titan is like the end of the world. If I had known I had such an amazing cheat code, I wouldn't have joined the Survey Corps. No, if I hadn't joined the Survey Corps, I don't think I would have gotten here. Compared to Seiya, who had previously lived a comfortable life, the other newcomer, Titan Seiya, was now filled with pure excitement. God forbid, when he first learned he had traveled through time and that the area he lived in was surrounded by a towering wall called Wall Maria, Seiya was utterly terrified. As a time traveler, did he want to join the Survey Corps? No, he chose to join simply for the sake of self-protection. Seiya didn't remember the plot of Attack on Titan very clearly, but he did remember that soon after the series began, the area he was in was about to fall to the Armored Titan. The human settlement was surrounded by 3 walls, and his area was the outermost, behind Wall Maria. Seiya wasn't unwilling to visit the latter two areas, but regardless of the world or era, any community lived in a class system. With no power or influence, migrating to the inner areas was practically impossible. The plot showed that while Maria's fall was inevitable, and with it, a horde of pure titans would flood into Long City, leaving the humans there as mere prey. Seiya couldn't bet on whether he was the chosen one or would perish in the chaos. To increase his chances of survival, he had to do everything he could to improve himself. The world within the walls contained 4 major military groups, and the Survey Corps was undoubtedly the most dangerous. However, if one truly wanted to survive in this world, joining the Survey Corps, who faced the Titans head-on, was the true path. However, Seiya the Giant did not expect that not long after he joined the Survey Corps and passed the recruit training, the so-called system was suddenly activated and brought him here. To be honest, even if he successfully joined the Survey Corps, Seiya had no confidence at all whether he could live a stable life in the world of giants. But now the situation is different. After a wave of ability and memory sharing, he got the cheat code and now he knows how awesome he is. Using ninjutsu and shikigami in the world of giants may not be realistic. After all, the rules and powers of each world are different, but just with his shared physical fitness, swordsmanship and taijutsu, it is almost enough to open the world of giants. It's just a giant, no big deal. Just treat it like a small monster and fight it. Honestly, I don't think the so-called 9 titans are any match for the monsters in my world. After all, those titans don't use the same messy abilities and moves as the monsters do. I wonder if you could transform into Ultraman in the Titan world if you had a transformation device. If so, I think it would be quite interesting to have Ultraman fight the founding Titan or something. It was Seiya from Tiga's world who spoke. Since arriving in the Hard and Dream world and sharing their power, Seiya Tiga is now considered a member of the retirement team within Seiya's army. Like Tiga, he was chosen as a human form by the ancient Titans, and combined with his physical and combat abilities, he is now a formidable fighter, even among Ultramen. Ultraman fighting the 9 giants. Holy crap, brother, if I remember correctly, in the world of Tiga, there should be a scientist named Masaki Kido who is quite awesome and can just rub the aura rod with his hands, right? If you can find a way to get the technology from him, and then come here to share the relevant memories with us, I will go to my own world to make the aura rod, and then maybe it will really be possible to become Ultraman. He said it carelessly, but listen with intent. After hearing what Tiga Seiya said, the giant Seiya instantly became interested. Becoming Ultraman and beating up the 9 giants, just thinking about it is very exciting. Once my 53-meter-tall giant of light appears, those so-called 9 giants are just brothers. Chapter 211, The World of Tiga, starts with a throat-locking beautiful girl. In the Tiga world, at the Victory Team base. Seiya, are you free today? Can you drive my sister to pick her up from her plane? She's going to the airport to pick up her boyfriend and originally asked me to do it, but I'm on duty today. Due to his outstanding performance on his last mission, Seiya has been promoted from a reserve member to a full-fledged member of the Victory Team. Not only has his salary increased significantly, but his current duties have become much easier. He used to repair fighter jets every few days, but now he only needs to perform routine maintenance on the aircraft systems. Because of his promotion and salary increase, he got a new car a few days ago and even treated his colleagues to a meal. Perhaps because he's just gotten the car, as the car owner in the Victory Team, his car is frequently requisitioned. Even guys like Kirito are known to use it. In addition to fighter jets, the Victory Team also has 2 armored vehicles equipped with powerful weapons. However, the Victory Team's car was only suitable for use during duty. It was somewhat inappropriate to use it for personal purposes. Seiya, though a new member of the Victory Team, was usually tactful, which was why Shinjo had asked him to pick up his sister. Upon hearing Shinjo's words, Seiya, who had been abusing his Victory Team member privileges to search for Masaki Kigo's information, was forced to pause his work. With a look of resignation, he said, "Captain Shinjo, I actually have to." "Okay, it's settled. I'll leave this matter to you. After all, you're one of the few reliable colleagues on the Victory Team. Haruka and Nori were unreliable, and Deiko and Lina are both busy, so I'll be troubling you with this." A few minutes later, at the entrance of the TPC Medical Bureau, Seiya examined the photo Shinjo had given him and compared it with the people leaving the bureau after get-off work. Admittedly, Seiya had never expected the unassuming Shinjo to have such a beautiful sister. However, no matter how pretty she was, it was useless because she already had a boyfriend, and this time she was going to the airport to pick him up. The TPC Medical Bureau was also a special facility, primarily responsible for providing medical treatment to combat personnel and some aliens. Shinjo's sister, Mayumi Shinjo, worked there as a nurse. The TPC Medical Bureau probably doesn't have a branch, right? Or did that guy Shinjo actually use a beauty filter on the photo? They've almost left, and there's no sign of someone named Mayumi in the photo. As Seiya watched the crowds dwindle outside the TPC Medical Bureau, he began to maliciously speculate that Shinjo, a sister-obsessed man, had used a high-level beauty filter on the photo of his sister, and that the real person must be different from the photo. After all, Shinjo had said that Mayumi was his biological sister. How could someone with Shinjo's ordinary looks have such a beautiful sister? There were only two possible answers: either the photo was a fake, or their father was a sailor. Unable to locate his target, Seiya decided to take the photo to the TPC Medical Bureau staff to question them. But just as he was about to move, someone tapped him on the shoulder from behind. Instinctively, Seiya, almost as soon as he turned, swiftly reached out and grabbed the person's neck. "Ms. Mayumi, I'm so sorry. For some reason, I'm not used to people tapping my shoulder from behind. If you're really angry, you can beat me up or something. I won't fight back. After all, it was my fault just now." Looking at the black-haired girl in front of him, Seiya's face was filled with apology. After all, just a few minutes ago, he had grabbed the girl by the neck with one hand and lifted her up. And the girl he had mercilessly choked was none other than Mayumi Shinjo, the sister of a colleague who had asked him to help take care of her. She was worried about her safety alone, so she asked him to pick her up, but he had just instinctively choked her, nearly killing her. Mayumi was just an ordinary person. If Seiya hadn't reacted quickly, with his current strength, he could have killed her. Ahem, it's okay. Ahem, it's my fault for approaching you from behind. After all, I've heard from my brother before that you often fight aliens, so it's normal to be worried. Hearing the girl's understanding, Seiya felt even more guilty, so to ease the awkwardness, he started chatting with her along the way. "I see, I didn't realize the TPC Medical Department has another gate. The gate I was guarding before was just where the non-staff left work." The main reason Seiya didn't guard Mayumi was because he hadn't realized that the TPC Medical Department actually had two departments. The general department treated Earthlings, while the other department was responsible for medical care for aliens. "Brother, you're such a fool. Since you asked a friend to pick us up, you should have told you all this. You made Seiya wait there for so long in vain. If I hadn't seen you wearing the same victory uniform as you, I wouldn't even know you'd been waiting for so long. I'm so sorry." He was clearly the one who was rude first, but the sister kept apologizing to him, which made Seiya feel a little emotional. As siblings, their personalities were completely different. Shinjo had a hot temper and was impulsive. If he knew that his sister had just been choked by Seiya, he would probably have put a gun to his head by now. Mayumi, on the other hand, was gentle and polite. Overall, Seiya felt that this pair of siblings were completely different species, not only in terms of their appearance, but also in their personalities. "I've heard about Seiya-kun from my brother before. He said that you are a top student who graduated from the University of Tokyo. He also said that in the victory team, except for him and Deiko-kun, the other male colleagues are almost all nerds, and there is not even one who can fight. But Seiya-kun is obviously not as weak as my brother said. I occasionally practice karate, but when facing Seiya-kun just now, I had no power to fight back at all. Could it be that everyone in the victory team has such good skills in order to fight aliens? Why do I feel that Seiya-kun, you may be better than my brother?" Faced with the girl's question, Seiya was also embarrassed, and finally could only laugh and say, "Team members of the Shinjo team graduated from a professional military school. How could I be their opponent?" Just when Seiya and Mayumi were chatting casually, the car's radio channel suddenly interrupted with a news report, so that Mayumi, who was originally smiling sweetly, was stunned. Chapter 212 The Lightning Man Who Caused the Flight to Lost Contact. The radio suddenly interrupted with news reports about a flight that had suddenly lost contact. That flight was the plane Mayumi's boyfriend was on. "Mayumi, don't worry. The plane has only lost contact temporarily, not necessarily an accident," Seiya hadn't finished comforting Mayumi when her communicator suddenly began to chime. After answering, Seiya realized it was an emergency call from the Victory Team. Seiya, return to Victory Team base immediately. Radar data has detected an unidentified magnetic field in the ionosphere. Comparing the wavelengths of the magnetic field suggests it could be the credus recurring. Several planes have disappeared in the ionosphere, and they've asked us to immediately fly the Hidain to investigate. Hearing Horii's voice over the communicator, Seiya glanced at Mayumi beside him and was speechless. He felt he must have neglected to check the almanac before leaving home today. This series of disappointments had begun to unravel his character. Mayumi, the Victory Team is urgently calling. How about I take you home? Don't worry, I'll contact you as soon as I find any news about your boyfriend. Despite his words, Seiya secretly suspected that the motorcycle racer named Takuma was probably dead. These days, a missing flight is almost guaranteed to be lost, and this time, with an unknown creature like Credus involved, it's even worse. Unfortunately, Mayumi's boyfriend is Takuma, not Takumi. While he's also a racer, he drives a motorcycle instead of an AE-86. Without the protagonist's impressive skills, he might still be able to be saved. Take me with you, please, take me with you. I want to confirm it with you in person. Upon hearing that the plane's disappearance was linked to an unknown creature, Mayumi tearfully begged Seiya. Mayumi, although you are a staff member of the TPC Medical Bureau, taking you to the Victory Team base is really, the full name of the Victory Team is Global Unlimited Task Squad, which means Global Unlimited Task Squad. Although they are basically extras in the battles in the play, for ordinary people, this organization is still quite impressive. After all, for ordinary people, aliens themselves are not something they can come into contact with, and special operations teams such as the Victory Team that allow armed forces have very high levels and privileges. Just like Seiya, who has now successfully become a full-time member, although he is just a newbie in the Victory Team, as long as he shows his ID, even the local police department will cooperate with his actions. As a nurse at the TPC Medical Bureau, Mayumi has also come into contact with aliens, but the Victory Team also has regulations, and he cannot bring unrelated people into the base. Please, Seiya-kun, didn't you just say you'd agree to do me a favor as an apology? So, I'm asking you to let me go with you to the Victory Team base. I'm really worried about Takuma. Hearing Mayumi's plea, Seiya finally understood exactly what it meant to shoot himself in the foot. He'd just joked about helping out in the future, as a way of expressing his apology, and now this had suddenly happened. Honestly, I just got promoted from reserve, and I'm probably going to be fired this time. Mayumi, hold on tight, I'm going to start speeding. Because it was an emergency call, Seiya had been driving fast for most of the way there. Once again, abusing his authority. He also experienced the thrill of not having to drive through red lights. What should have been an hour's journey was reduced to less than 15 minutes by Seiya's exceptional driving skills. Upon entering the Victory Team base, Horii and the others were surprised to see Mayumi accompanying them. Just as they were about to ask something, Shinjo, standing nearby, couldn't help but exclaim, "Mayumi, why are you here with Seiya?" Seeing Mayumi's heartbroken face, Shinjo turned to Seiya, questioning what was going on. "Brother, I asked Seiya-kun to bring me here, regardless of his business. We were on our way to the airport when we received your message to Seiya-kun, saying Takuma was among the missing flights, so upon seeing Shinjo, Mayumi felt like she had found support, hugging her brother and bursting into tears. However, facing the heartbroken and worried Mayumi, Shinjo could only pat her shoulder and offer comfort. "Mayumi, we'll investigate the matter regarding Takuma. Now just go back and wait for the news." As Shinjo consoled Mayumi, Victory Team Captain Megumi Naruma and Vice Captain Munakata soon arrived. But when Vice Captain Munakata saw Mayumi, who wasn't a member of the Victory Team, show up at the base, he frowned slightly. "I'm so sorry, Vice Captain, I was called up at the last minute, and Mayumi happened to be in my car at the time, so, although Mayumi was Shinjo's sister, it was he who broke the rules." To avoid implicating others, Seiya naturally took the blame. Mayumi is a staff member of the TPC Medical Department. Although we're in a different department, we're colleagues. This won't happen again. Munakata was still thinking about something, but at this moment, Iruma Megumi took the initiative to speak up. "Enough of this small talk. You should have understood the general situation of the matter just now. Since multiple passenger planes lost contact in the ionosphere at the same time, we speculate that this incident may be related to the previous Cretaceans. The director attaches great importance to this matter, so he ordered us to investigate immediately. Seiya and Shinjo, you will fly the Victory Swallow number 1, Dago and Lina, you will fly the Victory Swallow number 2, and immediately go to the crash site to investigate. Horii and Nori, you will be responsible for detecting the radio waves transmitted back from the ionosphere. If any abnormality occurs, immediately notify Seiya and the others to withdraw. As Iruma-K gave the order, all members of the Victory team also began to act. Shinjo finally managed to convince Mayumi to go back, and tossing his helmet to Seiya, he said, "Thank you so much, Seiya. Mayumi can be so headstrong sometimes. I'm so sorry what happened to Takuma, but she's still wanting to go with us to investigate. That's just ridiculous." Listening to Shinjo's complaints, Seiya smiled wryly and activated Victory Swallow 1. He glanced at Mayumi, whose head was sticking out from under him, who was now clasping her hands in a gesture of begging. Seiya looked from her to the still grumbling Shinjo, and finally sighed deeply. Chapter 213. A hero comes to save the beauty first. The Critis, mysterious creatures living in the sky, are also known as lightning men. Resembling upright rays swimming through the air, they are not only highly intelligent but also extremely ancient. This isn't the first time lightning men have appeared. During the Victory team's first battle with them, it was due to the electromagnetic waves used by humans that affected the Critis' living environment, prompting them to attack humans. During their first encounter with the lightning men, Horii attempted to communicate with them and become their friend. However, the Critis' concept of friendship meant they intended to devour everyone. When Seiya, Dako, and the others piloted the Hidayan through the clouds and into the ionosphere, they soon encountered a large amount of aircraft wreckage. Nearby, swarms of lightning men, resembling plankton, swarmed around them. "Damn it! These guys are at it again." Shinjo's expression was filled with rage upon seeing the vast wreckage and the lightning men floating in the air. The chances of a plane attack by the lightning man surviving safely were practically zero. He'd previously given Mayumi all sorts of assurances, leaving him with a questionable explanation for his sister. However, Shinjo soon realized his worries were completely unfounded. Even his attempts to conceal or make excuses proved futile. After hearing Shinjo's excited words, Mayumi, who had been hiding, emerged from beneath Seiya. "No, this isn't true. Takuma, didn't you say you'd come back to see me?" Staring at the wreckage in the ionosphere, Mayumi burst into tears, while Shinjo was still wondering how Mayumi had managed to get aboard the Hidayan. Shinjo was about to reprimand Mayumi, but suddenly, Horii's anxious voice echoed through the communicator. "Seiya, Shinjo, according to the radar, the lightning men have detected your presence and are surrounding your location. Evacuate immediately." Before Horii could finish his words, the communication signal became intermittent. When Seiya and Shinjo looked ahead again, they were stunned to discover that the lightning men, who had been circling the wreckage, were now rapidly gathering towards them like a flock of migratory birds. In the eyes of the lightning men, the Hidayan was an uninvited invader, and they must devour all the humans here before their environment could return to normal. Living in the ionosphere, the lightning men were able to emit radio waves that interfere with equipment, a phenomenon that had previously led to the disappearance of all the planes. As the number of lightning men increased, not only did the communication equipment begin to malfunction, but even the Hidayan's instruments began to malfunction. "No, if this continues, we're bound to crash. We must find a way to escape their encirclement as soon as possible. Seiya, you steer, and I'll use the laser cannon to clear a path." As Dago's frequent partner in plane crashes were a common occurrence for Shinjo. Under normal circumstances, he would have remained calm in the face of such a situation. After all, it was just a plane crash. Had Shinjo crashed the Hidayan before? But this time, the situation was obviously different, because his sister Mayumi was also aboard the Hidayan. As the Victory team's fighter, the Hidayan was equipped with a forced release device to prevent the crew members from being killed in a crash during battles with monsters. Simply put, in the event of a crash, their seats were equipped with a device that ejected them. This device ensured their survival in every crash. However, the Hidayan they were currently aboard only had such forced release devices for the 2 seats they were sitting in. This meant that if the Hidayan crashed here, Mayumi, who had managed to get aboard the fighter, would practically be dead. As a brother with a sister complex, Shinjo naturally wouldn't allow such a thing to happen, so at this moment, he was risking his life. As laser blasts swept toward the floating lightning men, these ray-like plankton, now completely enraged by Shinjo's actions, erupted in laughter like children before turning violent and gathering together. The assembled lightning men, quickly disrupted by electromagnetic waves, transformed into a monster, Gazette, resembling a cobra, but with fins, arms, and legs. After transforming into Gazette, the Hyaen's laser cannons fired again, apparently tickling it. Several massive electromagnetic spheres, carelessly ejected from its mouth, barely grazed the Hyaen's wings, causing it to completely lose control. Seeing the Hyaen about to crash, Shinjo was about to unbuckle his seatbelt, allowing Mayumi to take his place and use the escape mechanism to escape, but he was already ejected. Mayumi, Shinjo screamed fiercely as he felt himself being ejected from the fighter. Watching her brother being flung away, and the Hyaen gradually losing its balance and plummeting from the sky, Mayumi finally realized the urgency of the situation. Seiya-kun, you should also escape quickly, or the Hyaen will crash. This is all due to my own willfulness. This time, maybe I'll even see Takuma again. Before Mayumi could finish her words, her tearful face was slapped directly in the face. The person who slapped her was none other than Seiya, the man standing before her. Do you think this is okay? Although I have never met that guy named Takuma, if he really loves you deeply, do you think he would like to see you in a state of self-degradation? If you just give up and wait for death calmly, do you think you can be worthy of your brother? And if you die, how can I face the Shinjo team? It was me who tolerated your willfulness and allowed you to get on the Hyaen, so this bitter fruit is naturally my responsibility. Do you want me to feel guilty for the rest of my life? Your life does not just belong to you. Don't treat your life as something that can be thrown away at will, bastard. Seiya's furious look at this moment probably really woke Mayumi up, so that she kept repeating, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Facing Mayumi, who was stunned by his scolding, Seiya took off his seatbelt without saying a word and pushed her to his seat. Wait a minute, Before Mayumi could finish her words, Seiya had already pressed the button to disengage the device, and her body was ejected. Chapter 214, Hard-working Tiga, never plays against the wind. Seiya, Mayumi screamed as she felt her body being catapulted irresistibly, her heart filled with endless regret and self-blame. I've helped you twice before, as an apology for my previous chokehold. You risked your life this time to save me. If we meet again, it would be unacceptable if you don't treat me to a feast. Hearing Seiya's words and his nonchalant expression, Mayumi cried out no, repeatedly. Sadly, no matter how she cried, the Hyaen's descent didn't slow at all, until it formed a parabola in the air and crashed into a mountain, completely destroying it. After shooting down the Hyaen, the monster Gazette, formed by a large number of lightning men, also landed. Having experienced its first defeat, the second-generation Gazette had a clear goal, to reach the power plant to absorb enough electricity to strengthen its power. However, as it was on its way to the power plant, a loud bang suddenly rang out from the sky, and Tiga made a dazzling appearance. On the mountain where the victory swallow crashed, Seiya looked at the fighter plane, now reduced to pieces, and then at Gazette, sent tumbling to the ground by a powerful kick from Tiga. He silently put away his transformation device. It was truly unfortunate that the Giant of Light, known as Ultraman Hero, chose him as his human form. Ever since being chosen alongside Deco, Tiga has been a hard-working character, constantly battling small monsters. Seiya, chosen by Hero, however, has yet to make a full-fledged appearance. It's unfortunate. Compared to other Ultraman series, Tiga is clearly a formidable fighter. While other Ultramen occasionally encounter monsters they can't defeat, they often call on friends and family for support. But with the exception of the final battle against Gotenjia, Tiga seems to have managed to turn the tide even when facing minor setbacks. Compared to the original, the second-generation Gazette possesses a more ferocious personality and greater power. Unfortunately, without absorbing enough power, Gazette II was still left screaming in pain from Tiga's assault. Elsewhere, after landing, Shinjo frantically rushed to the crash site of the Hyaen. Without the escape system and parachute, his chances of survival were practically zero, but even so, Shinjo refused to give up even that slim hope. As Shinjo desperately raced towards the Hyaen's crash site, a figure running in the same direction caught his attention. It was none other than his beloved sister, Mayumi. Seeing his sister safe and sound, Shinjo was instantly overjoyed. He had initially thought the chances of Mayumi's survival were slim, but now a miracle had occurred. Mayumi, I'm so glad you're safe. This place is too dangerous. I'll get you away right away. Shinjo, overjoyed to have his sister, who he had thought tragically dead, back, grabbed Mayumi's arm and began to drag her away. After what had happened, he couldn't allow Mayumi to continue acting recklessly. Even if it meant earning his sister's resentment, he would use force this time to drag her away. Brother, Seiya gave me his chance to escape, and he himself, upon hearing Mayumi's words, Shinjo froze in his tracks. He had been wondering how Mayumi had managed to escape unscathed under such circumstances. It turned out it wasn't a miracle. Seiya had given up his chance to escape and chosen to save Mayumi. I'll check on Seiya. You leave this place immediately. Do you want him to die for you in vain? Perhaps because of Seiya's earlier warning, Mayumi, though tearful, remained unmoved by Shinjo's furious outburst. She decided to obey her brother and stop dragging her down. However, as if the heavens were playing a trick on her, just as Mayumi was moving alone towards safety, the numerous lightning men in the sky suddenly gathered into a massive cloud. Then, with a burst of lightning and thunder, a second Gazette-eye appeared. This second Gazette-eye was apparently quite clever. While Tiga was dealing with the other Gazette, it had already successfully stolen the base and attacked the power plant. Having gained sufficient electricity, it was now far more powerful than before. With its power boosted, Gazette-eye was about to join the other Gazette in attacking Tiga, and Mayumi was caught in the monster's path. Just as Mayumi was about to die, a motorcycle rider suddenly appeared and rescued her. Although the rider was wearing a motorcycle helmet, Mayumi immediately recognized him as her boyfriend, Takuma, who had died in the plane crash. At first, Mayumi thought Takuma was still alive. However, when Mayumi tried to touch him with her hand, her arm passed through him, and she realized that Takuma was only his soul. Takuma, who had crashed on the plane, clinging to his obsession with Mayumi, had his soul and the magnetic field generated by the lightning man undergoing an unknown change, leading to his current location. Mayumi, I've completed my mission, and now it's time to say goodbye. It's so wonderful to see you one last time. Promise me, after I'm gone, you'll find someone who can protect you. After these two deeply moving lines, Takuma, ignoring Mayumi's cries, rode away on his motorcycle. If the two Gazettes joined forces, Ultraman Tiga would be at a disadvantage against two alone. Therefore, Takuma decided to act as bait, a last-ditch effort to buy Tiga some time. With both Hitains already down, the victory team was unable to help Tiga contain one of them. Takuma quickly found Shinjo and took him aboard his motorcycle, while Shinjo drew his pistol and continuously fired into the other Gazette's eyes. The attack Gazette, furious, began to attempt to crush the two ants. However, Takuma, a professional racer and skilled driver, maneuvered swiftly, dodging the Gazette's attacks. Unfortunately, his good fortune was short-lived. Realizing that the two human ants harassing him were even faster than he'd imagined, Gazette abandoned the pursuit and instead focused a beam of electricity from his mouth, sweeping it directly towards Shinjo and the others. The massive beam's reach was so vast that even Takuma, despite his impressive driving skills, couldn't dodge it. From a distance, Tiga, observing the situation, attempted to rescue them, but was entangled by another Gazette. Chapter 215, Seiya's First Transformation, Ultraman Hero. Seeing the massive electric beam about to engulf Takuma and Shinjo, Mayumi, who had witnessed the scene from afar, couldn't help but cry out, no. Seeing the massive beam of electricity blasting towards him, Shinjo felt certain he was doomed. Even his final thought was whether Mayumi would be able to hold on without both her boyfriend and brother. Boom, but just as he closed his eyes, ready to die, the imagined pain didn't come. When he opened his eyes again, he was shocked to find that a hand had actually blocked the electric beam for them. Shinjo initially thought it was Tiga, but when he looked up at the other hand, he was shocked to realize that while it was also a giant of light, its appearance was distinctly different from Tiga's. Tiga's suit was silver, purple, and red, but this new giant of light was primarily red with small accents of silver. In terms of size, the new giant of light is comparable to Ultraman Tiga, and its timer and other details are noticeably different. Meanwhile, back at Team Victory's base, Captain Ikumake, Nori, and the others were stunned by the new Ultraman appearing on the screen. They had previously believed that Ultraman Tiga was the only Ultraman, but now they hadn't expected a new giant of light to suddenly appear. The data is in. And through photo comparison, we've confirmed that this new giant of light is another of the 3 giant stone statues that once existed in the Pyramid of Light. Of the 3 giants of light in the Pyramid of Light, one transformed into Ultraman Tiga, one was destroyed by a monster, and another vanished into thin air. It appears this new giant of light is the missing one, Harii said excitedly, comparing the original satellite photo of the giant statue with the one currently on screen, finding an exact match. The giant of light statue alongside Ultraman Tiga? So, is he on the side of humanity, just like Ultraman Tiga? Seeing Hiro appear on the screen, Iruma-kun felt both surprise and a slight sense of worry. After all, just as some people are good and some are bad, Iruma-kun and the others couldn't tell if all giants of light were necessarily on the side of justice. He's definitely on the side of humanity, just like Ultraman Tiga. Didn't you see him just save Team Shinjo? Compared to the others, Lena was more certain that Hiro was the giant of light of justice. It wasn't that she was completely convinced, it was her first encounter with Hiro. If the Ultraman who appeared now was bad, then Ultraman Tiga would be facing a 1-on-3 situation. Even Ultraman Tiga, no matter how powerful, would have no chance of defeating that number of villains. If Ultraman Tiga fell, Earth and humanity would be doomed. However, Hiro's performance soon brought a sigh of relief to the victory team. After helping Shinjo and the others block the attack, he carefully lifted them and Mayumi and carried them to safety before assuming a fighting stance against Gazette. The newly emerged Ultraman is named Ultraman Hiro. As for his human form, it goes without saying, it's Seiya, who had previously been trying to slack off. Like Tiga, Hiro is a giant of light who previously slept in the Pyramid of Light. Hiro, who can share a room with Tiga, is no less impressive than Tiga. Many believe that Tiga's ability to change forms comes from the 2 other giants of light, Ultraman Hiro and Ultraman Achilles, the stone statues of the Pyramid of Light. However, Tiga's power to transform comes from 2 dark titans, Hitler and Durham, who existed 30 million years ago. 30 million years ago, Dark Tiga, along with Hitler, Durham, and Camilla, destroyed the world. However, Dark Tiga eventually came to his senses and backstabbed his former companions. He gained agility from Hitler, strength from Durham, and finally the power of light from Camilla, ultimately achieving his goal of redemption. As for Hiro and Agiles, sealed away with Tiga, they were also ancient giants of light, each with their own unique origins, far from being cannon fodder. Hiro was a true combat-oriented Ultraman. Despite his limited light abilities, his physical skills and physical prowess surpassed those of most Ultramen. Seiya, transforming into an Ultraman for the first time, was actually quite unfamiliar. After all, he was used to being human, and suddenly, transformed into a behemoth over 50 meters tall, everything seemed incredibly tiny. Roar, being his first transformation, Seiya was so engrossed in the novelty of the experience that he completely forgot there was a monster beside him. Gazette, seemingly displeased at being ignored, opened its maw and instantly launched a beam of electric current, even thicker than before, towards Seiya. A thick, high-voltage electric beam blasted Seiya's body, and a cloud of sparks and lightning quickly enveloped him completely. Witnessing this scene, the victory team's emotions were instantly riled up. They had originally thought that the appearance of a new giant of light would prevent Ultraman Tiga from being forced into a 1-on-2 situation, but now it seemed that this new Ultraman was a bit weak, no, rather, a bit slow in his reactions. It's not the giant of light. It's this Gazette II. After absorbing the power plant's electricity, it's far more powerful than the one Tiga is currently dealing with. I just analyzed the energy wavelengths on my computer and found that the Gazette II, which absorbed the power plant's computer, is emitting a high-voltage beam with over 3 times the power of the other Gazette's electromagnetic sphere. This giant of light was already hit by a blast protecting Shinjo and the others. Even Ultraman Tiga couldn't withstand that kind of energy attack, so it's not just a slow reaction, he must have been injured just now. Upon hearing Horii's analysis, everyone looked worried. Captain Iruma-K ordered Vice Captain Munakata to drive the victory team's armored vehicles to support this new Ultraman. Wait a minute, look. This new Ultraman doesn't seem to be seriously injured after being hit by that energy just now. Just as everyone was preparing to move, Lena spoke, drawing everyone's attention back to the screen. On the screen, Ultraman Hiro stood up as if nothing had happened, even looking down at the spot where he'd been struck. Although he didn't say anything, the members of the victory team strangely understood what Ultraman Hiro was trying to say. Seiya, Ultraman Hiro, that's it? Can an attack of this magnitude even be considered an attack? Chapter 216, is the new Ultraman stronger than Tiga? Hori, are you sure that the second generation Gazette, having absorbed the power of the power plant, can unleash its attacks with at least 3 times the destructive power of the other Gazette? Seeing Ultraman Hero standing up as if nothing had happened and looking at the second generation Gazette with disdain, Captain Iruma and the others looked at Hori with confusion. Trust my expertise. Based on energy reaction testing, the electric beam is definitely more than 3 times as powerful as the electromagnetic ball, and only slightly more. If you don't believe me, ask Nori. Hearing Hori's words, everyone turned their attention to the other tech geek on Team Victory. The latter quickly nodded in agreement and said, no matter whether it is speed or strength, the data are indeed more than 3 times, then why is it that after only a few of Gazette's electromagnetic balls, the timer started to light up in red, while this new giant of light was hit head-on by a more powerful move, but nothing happened? The question asked by Lena was also a question in the minds of the others present. Hori, who had the highest IQ in the Victory team, touched his round chin and guessed, it's like Tiga has multiple forms to deal with various battles. I think this new giant of light may be a defensive type, so he has a stronger ability to withstand attacks. But in contrast, his offensive ability must be relatively weak. Hori stopped halfway through his words. It was not that he didn't want to continue, but his face was already swollen when he finished half of his so-called guess. Because at that moment, on the screen, Seiya, who he had described as having relatively weak offensive power, dashed in front of Gazette. With a single punch, Gazette, who was not much shorter than him, was thrown back several steps, his body embedded in the nearby mountain. Pinned against the mountain, Gazette let out a roar and prepared to rise, but just as he was about to rise, he was struck down by Seiya's punch again. Realizing that he was no match for the Ultraman before him, Gazette began to gather electrical energy in the air again, attempting to force Seiya back. However, as his mouth of sharp teeth opened and the electric energy began to gather, Seiya punched him again, pushing back the half-collected electromagnetic sphere. Boom! The electromagnetic sphere, interrupted by its spell, exploded directly in Gazette's mouth. Stunned, it felt its entire body suddenly lose its balance before it could react. Seiya lifted Gazette high above his head and flung it forward like trash. Another Gazette was initially battling Tiga, bombarding it with electromagnetic waves. As the opponent's timer began to flash, it seemed to have the upper hand when disaster struck. Seiya's violently hurled Gazette crashed directly into the Gazette battling Tiga. Seeing both monsters stunned, Tiga didn't waste this hard-earned opportunity. He struck a series of poses, culminating in the L sign, and unleashed his Zephyrian beam at the 2 Gazettes. However, because the 2 Gazette's were back-to-back, Tiga's Zephyrian beam could only hit one of them. Seeing this, Seiya swung his arm, gathering energy in his entire right hand, and then unleashed a ray attack like a knife. The Lacius beam, while slightly less powerful than Tiga's Zephyrian beam, was more than enough to destroy an incapacitated monster. Ultraman Hero merely had fewer ray-based abilities, not none at all. If anything, he was just a sports whiz with a slight edge. Under the pincer attack of the 2 beams, the 2 Gazette's instantly exploded into fragments. After this, Seiya and Tiga exchanged a glance, nodded, and both soared into the air. The monsters were destroyed, and Takuma, after bidding Mayumi a final farewell, gradually faded into a speck of light, vanishing before her. As he neared extinction, Takuma asked Mayumi to express his gratitude to Seiya on his behalf. Takuma, you mean Seiya-kun is not dead? Takuma's soul and the magnetic field of the Lightning Man have undergone some unknown changes to appear here. When Seiya rescued him and Shinjo, Takuma discovered that the Ultraman who saved them was Seiya. However, seeing Mayumi's puzzled expression at this moment, Takuma realized that Mayumi and the others seemed to be unaware of Seiya's true identity, and he seemed to have let it slip. When Seiya rushed over, Takuma's figure had dissipated to the point of being almost transparent. When he saw Seiya coming, he gave him an apologetic smile, leaving Seiya confused. Looking at the disappeared Takuma, and then at Seiya who was standing there, Mayumi was about to ask something, but was interrupted by the loud voice of Shinjo who came from a distance. Seeing Seiya return alive and well, Shinjo was overjoyed. He immediately put his arm around Seiya's shoulders and said, I knew you wouldn't die so easily. Thank you so much for Mayumi's situation. From now on, you'll be my good brother. If you need any help, Just come to me." The man had sacrificed his life to save his sister. The favor was immense. Previously, Shinjo considered Seiya merely a colleague, but from today on, Seiya was his younger brother. Actually, I was just lucky. When I was maintaining the Heian, I had placed an emergency escape kit inside, and I never expected it would come in handy this time. Shinjo had no doubts about Seiya's explanation. After all, Seiya's previous job was to maintain and manage the victory team's fighter jets, so having emergency measures on board was perfectly natural. Mayumi, standing nearby, wanted to ask if Seiya had saved Takuma and her brother, but she couldn't continue. It was clear that Seiya was intentionally concealing his Ultraman identity. Although Mayumi didn't know why, she would keep it a secret for Seiya. "Thank you all for your hard work. We didn't expect two monsters to appear during this disaster, and even Ultraman Tiga was struggling. Horii and Nori, you will be responsible for compiling the relevant reports on this incident. Dako and Lena, you will go to the affected areas to carry out the aftermath. Seiya, you will inspect the damage to the two Heians and repair them as soon as possible. I will approve the relevant funds for you. As for Shinjo, you should spend the next few days with your sister. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217, Seiya, Chris Maya? Not a fan, only loves the second dimension. I'm exhausted. Now that we're done with this, we can finally take a break. Although no new incidents have occurred since the Gazette II incident, the victory team has been kept busy. After all, as a special unit, their job isn't just to fight monsters. For example, they need to conduct follow-up investigations into the damage and impact caused by Gazette II, such as investigating any abnormalities in the area where the monsters were fought. After all, monsters are mysterious and unknown creatures to humans, and even the areas where they have appeared may have some impact on local life forms. Just like issues like radiation, even brief contact or being in the same area can sometimes have a certain impact on humans. Investigating and resolving such issues is also the victory team's job. The seniors are fine, just running errands and sorting out paperwork. I'm the one who's most tired. The two victory swallows were not so much repaired as they were directly rebuilt. Speaking of which, Shinjo and I crashed because we were attacked by the Gazette II. What's going on with you, Daegu and Lena? I checked the fuselage of the Victory Swallow II before, and apart from the damage caused by the crash, there were no obvious signs of damage. Hearing what Seiya said, Lena was also confused, and then looked at Daegu and said, "But Daegu, you who were in charge of the flight system before, didn't you say that we were hit and all the instruments malfunctioned?" Seeing the looks that Seiya and Lena gave him, Daegu couldn't help but feel guilty, and then he laughed and said, "Yeah, is it true that we were not hit at that time, but were only affected by the magnetic field of the Lightning Man, which caused the instruments to malfunction?" Daegu, you really should be more serious in doing things. If it weren't for the new Giant of Light, our Heian would have been the only thing that could help Tiga contain the enemy. I've often heard that Team Daegu is a master at crashing planes. That's why we don't have to pay for the plane's maintenance. Otherwise, if we deducted your salary, you wouldn't have enough to cover the cost in 200 years. Of course, even though the plane's maintenance is paid for by higher-ups, I'm always the one who suffers the most. So, if possible, Team Daegu, please don't crash it. Hearing that both Seiya and Lena were brooding over the crash, Daegu looked embarrassed. Realizing that if he continued this topic, he might never be able to fly the Heian again, Daegu panicked and quickly changed the subject. He had to fly the Heian, and he had to crash it, otherwise, how could he use it as a cover for his transformation? Besides, Team Victory wasn't the only one known for its crashing skills. Wasn't Shinjo's record any worse? Dagu's plane crash was meant to be made into soup. No, it was meant to be transformed into light, but Xinchang's plane crash was a real dish. By the way, do you know the name of the Giant of Light that appeared that day? Although Dagu's way of changing the subject was rather abrupt, everyone was quite interested in what he said, so they were quickly drawn to it. That Giant of Light is called Ultraman Hero. Like Tiga, he is a super ancient warrior of light. Previously in the Pyramid of Light, not only Tiga awakened, but he also awakened, but for some reason he did not show up at that time. Ultraman Hero is an Ultraman who excels in physical skills. Not only does he have strong defense, his fighting skills are also quite amazing. Hearing Dagu's talk, Lena couldn't help but show a look of confusion on her face and asked, Dagu, why do you know all these things? It was you who told us about Tiga's previous incident. How do you know about Ultraman Hero this time? It is said that women's intuition is often stronger than men's. Everyone else is curious about who is stronger, Hero or Tiga, and what the relationship is between the two. But what Lena cares about is why Dagu knows all these things. I think Daiko must have discovered these things in the pyramid ruins before, and now he's trying to show off in front of us. Isn't that right, Daiko? Hearing Seiya's defense, Daiko quickly nodded in agreement and once again abruptly changed the subject. Team Shinjo, how's Mayumi? Because of the last incident, everyone on Team Victory knew that Shinjo's sister, Mayumi, had been the most traumatized by the Gazette incident, so they couldn't help but ask with concern. Hey, after this incident, Mayumi's become a lot stronger, but she's not as lively as before. I really want to talk to her, but I don't know where to start, and she won't tell me anything. We're going on vacation soon, and I heard she liked a singer named Chris Maya, so I managed to get 2 tickets and was planning to take her out to relax. What? You mean Chris Maya? Upon hearing Shinjo's words, Horii, who had been drowsy, suddenly became excited. As a huge fan of Chris Maya, he'd always wanted to attend her concert, but Chris Maya was such a phenomenal singer, so popular that tickets were hard to come by. Horii hadn't expected Shinjo to be so resourceful and secure tickets to see Chris Maya. Yet, I got them through a friend from my old school. It took a lot of effort. Honestly, I can't understand why. Chris Maya's songs are good, but I didn't expect tickets to be so hard to come by. Shinjo had also heard Chris Maya's music, and while he liked her, he wasn't a huge fan. He even thought he'd rather stay home and lift weights than go to a concert. If it weren't for his sister's motivation, he wouldn't have gone to such great lengths to get tickets and made plans to go to the concert with her. What are you talking about? That's Chris Maya, the most popular singer right now. Do you know how many people are spending huge sums of money to buy live tickets? How can you be so ungrateful that you have such a blessing? After being scolded by the fanatical fan Horii, Shinjo was also confused. Then he looked at the other members of the Victory team and asked in confusion, is Chris Maya famous? But hasn't she debuted for less than a year? Lena and Nori, she is super famous. Chris Maya's popularity now can be said to be at the level of a national idol. Daegu, I seem to have heard of this person. Seiya, don't look at me, I am a firm 2D party, so I don't pay much attention to 3D stars or something. I feel that Ultraman is a bit difficult to write, and it doesn't feel right after writing it. Tot. Chapter 218 Going on a date with a beautiful girl? Horii was speechless as he looked at Seiya and Daiko. It was fine if he wasn't a fan, but the fact that these two hadn't even heard of Chris Maya was simply outrageous. Horii slapped Shinjo, Daiko, and Seiya with the titles of Muscle Idiot, Primitive, and Otaku. After enthusiastically supporting his idol, Horii's eyes shifted to Shinjo's, his expression suddenly becoming incredibly flattering. Shinjo, since you're not particularly interested in Chris Maya's concert, why don't you give me the tickets so I can take Mayumi? Don't worry, I'm best at counseling people. You might be Mayumi's older brother, but sometimes friends are better suited for conversations than family. Shinjo paused, then pondered for a moment before saying, indeed, Mayumi has grown up now, and she's been avoiding me these days. I think your advice is valuable, Horii. Thank you for reminding me. Then what about the Chris Maya tickets? Seeing Shinjo's willingness, Horii rubbed his hands excitedly. However, after Shinjo produced the tickets, he didn't hand them to the expectant Horii as he had hoped. Instead, he shoved them into the hands of a bewildered Seiya. Seiya, I'll leave it to you to accompany Mayumi to Chris Maya's concert. Let me make this clear, lest anyone scold me again. Mayumi is not the heroine of this world. I'm not a pure love god, but I do have my limits. Seiya? Horii, Cyrillic lettered X. Shinjo, this isn't right. Didn't you just say I was making a lot of sense? Yes, I think you're right, so I'm planning on having Mayumi accompany a friend to the concert. Compared to you, Mayumi is obviously more familiar with Seiya, right? And even if it's not Seiya, it should be Lena, who is also a woman. Do you think, as a brother, I would let my sister go on a date alone with you guys? For every brother who has a sister complex, anyone of the opposite sex who gets close to his sister is a pig's hoof. Now that his sister Mayumi has just been heartbroken, at this critical juncture, How could Shinjo let other guys take advantage of the situation? I admit Mayumi is beautiful, but Haruhi is not the type to take advantage of someone's vulnerability. Besides, Seiya is a man too, so why is he allowed to accompany Mayumi to Chris Meyer's concert? Or is Seiya just a man in appearance, but a woman in reality? Upon hearing Haruhi's words, Shinjo hadn't even begun to speak when Seiya leaped to his feet. This was a matter of male dignity, something he absolutely wouldn't compromise on. But as soon as he stood up, Shinjo pushed him down and said, Seiya is, of course, a man, and a very manly one at that. And that's why I am comfortable with Mayumi going out with her. Ever since Seiya risked his life to save Mayumi, Shinjo's affection for him had skyrocketed. After all, girls are going to get married, so Shinjo felt more reliable than letting anyone else take advantage. So, Team Shinjo, why don't you let Team Haruhi take Mayumi? I'm not really interested in concerts or anything like that. While dating a beautiful girl might seem like a good idea, it's a completely different story when the date is your friend's sister. Seiya and Mayumi had already gotten into a chokehold the first time they met. Just being a driver caused a lot of trouble, and who knows what kind of trouble might arise from covering for a concert this time. Mayumi is Shinjo's sister, and Shinjo is a bit of a sister con and has a bad temper. So, rather than going to a concert with Mayumi, Seiya decided it would be better to just lie back and play games. No, Team Haruhi has short legs, is fat, and loves to tell silly jokes. He's completely unreliable. It would be terrible if he made Mayumi feel even worse. Yeah, Team Haruhi's dry jokes are really awkward. I think the humorous Seiya is more suitable to accompany Mayumi to relax. And even Mayumi would probably prefer a date with a handsome guy, right? Deiko and Lina exchanged insults about Haruhi, a completely normal part of their victory team. A certain genius scientist, after glancing at Seiya and rubbing his chubby cheeks, also broke down and left. Ultimately, Seiya had no choice but to agree and, using the number Shinjo provided, prepared to ask Mayumi's opinion. Do you think Mayumi will agree to go to the concert with Seiya? Lina asked curiously, watching Seiya leave the war room and make a phone call. I've already made such a huge sacrifice. If Seiya is rejected, then it's really up to me, Haruhi, to take charge. Chris Meyer's concert. I really want to go. It was Haruhi, who had just broken down and left, who spoke. Judging from his and the others' reactions, it was clear that their words were all scripted. The purpose of this was, of course, to trick Seiya. Isn't Captain Haruhi acting like himself? Ha ha ha. Faced with everyone's teasing, Haruhi looked defiant and narcissistically stated that girls these days like his type, and that guys like Seiya are no longer popular. I don't think Mayumi will refuse. After all, she hasn't spoken to me much these past few days, and the few times she did, she was always asking about Seiya. Hearing Shinjo's words, Lina, Deiko, and the others felt he was being overly judgmental. After all, Seiya had risked his life to save Mayumi, so it was perfectly normal for Mayumi to ask about his injuries. Anyway, I think Seiya would have the best chance if he invited Mayumi. Shinjo had lied. After the Flashman incident, he had indeed invited his sister to the Chris Meyer concert to cheer Mayumi up, but she had declined, claiming she didn't have time. Shinjo felt his sister wouldn't be able to move on from her grief if she continued to dwell on it, so he asked Deiko and the others to arrange the drama. While asking Seiya directly wouldn't have been impossible, if he had refused, things would have been difficult, as tickets to Chris Meyer's concert were incredibly hard to come by. The group had been chatting, but when Seiya walked in again, everyone turned their attention to him. Finally, Rina asked, Seiya, what did Mayumi say? Did she agree to go to the concert with you? Yeah, she said she happened to have a day off that day, and she wanted to treat me to dinner as a thank you for my help. Hearing Rina's question, Seiya was puzzled. Wasn't he going there on Shinjo's behalf? How could he refuse? But if Mayumi refused, he could just relax at home. Chapter 219 The popular singer is really an alien. See, I told you that if it was Seiya, there would be no problem. Seiya, Mayumi's leaving her in your care. I hope you can cheer her up as soon as possible. Seeing Shinjo's excited face, Seiya was confused. He then looked at Egu and the others who were whispering, and suddenly asked suspiciously, are you hiding something from me? Why do I always feel like you're tricking me? Otherwise, I'll tell Mayumi that I have something urgent to do that day and can't go. Hearing that Seiya was about to take the blame, Shinjo immediately became anxious, and stepped forward to hold Seiya's shoulder tightly and said, "How can a man break his promise to others so easily? As Mayumi's friend, don't you want her to cheer up as soon as possible?" "Of course I hope so, but team member Shinjo, just call me brother Shinjo," glancing at Shinjo in front of him with enthusiasm, and then at Daegu and the others who were pretending to be doing something but their eyes were always glancing towards them. Seiya was now even more certain that he had been tricked. On Sunday, which is Sunday in Japan, when Seiya arrived at the station, he saw Mayumi, who had been waiting for him for a long time. She was wearing a black and white knitted sweater, a business suit, and a white towel around her neck, looking very youthful and beautiful. Upon seeing Seiya, Mayumi waved and called out, "Seiya-kun, this way, this way." Chris Maya's concert was in Tokyo, and Seiya had arranged to take the train with Mayumi the previous night, considering the traffic. He hadn't expected Mayumi to arrive even earlier, even though he had arrived 10 minutes early. "Sorry, I haven't been out much, so I was looking up travel guides, so I'm a little late." Although he wasn't late, he had kept her waiting, so Seiya politely apologized upon meeting her. "No, Seiya is already punctual. I just arrived too early." Tokyo is the second most prosperous city in the world. It has the world's busiest traffic hub, so even though they arrived quite early, Seiya and Mayumi still had to work hard to squeeze onto the train. Seiya likes to stay at home, not only because he likes the anime, but also because the travel environment here is really bad. Other cities are okay, but in big cities like Tokyo and Osaka, the trams, subways and other means of transportation are really crowded. Women are always at a disadvantage in crowded trams, and at this moment, Seiya was very considerate and helped Mayumi block a lot of congested people. "Thank you, Seiya, for all the trouble you've been causing me. And your injuries from last time should be fine, right? I told you, even though they weren't serious, to not take it lightly. I told you to go to the TPC Medical Center for another checkup, but you never even came." The injuries Mayumi was referring to were actually intentionally inflicted by Seiya himself. After all, he'd crashed, so it would have been hard to believe he was completely unscathed. Mayumi had tended to the minor scratches he'd sustained after the battle with Yazidai. Although she'd instructed him to check in at the TPC Medical Center afterward, Seiya had completely forgotten about it. "It can't be helped. We're busy with maintenance work on the Hitayan, and it was only a minor injury, so I didn't take it too seriously. By the way, does Mayumi really like this singer named Chris Maya? Our team member Harii is also a huge fan, and even asked me to get him Chris Maya's autograph." After getting off the train, Seiya and Mayumi chatted idly on the way to the concert. Since the purpose of this trip was to cheer Mayumi up, it was natural to try to talk about topics that interested her. Chris Maya may be a new singer, but her songs are so touching. "I should have been thanking you for what happened before, but this time, Seiya-kun is going to spend money to treat me to Chris Maya's concert?" Mayumi's words left Seiya completely bewildered. What the hell is this? The Chris Maya concert tickets were given by Shinjo, so when did they become his? What on earth did Shinjo tell his sister? "Mayumi, the tickets for Chris Maya actually belong to Shinjo's team." "I know, brother already told me that you asked him to buy the tickets for you, but brother wanted to use your tickets to take me to the concert before. It's really too much?" Seiya, "No, the script I got is not like this." "Mayumi, excuse me, how much does a ticket for Chris Maya's concert cost?" Hearing Mayumi's words, Seiya guessed that he was probably, possibly, or perhaps being tricked by Shinjo and Daegu. There was nothing wrong with that guy Shinjo, he was basically trying to match him up with Mayumi. Although he had heard that the fastest way to get over a sad relationship was to have a new one, but those bastards Shinjo didn't even ask him what he thought. And judging by Mayumi's expression, she'd been kept in the dark, even believing he'd gotten the tickets specifically to cheer her up. Shinjo had spent the money, yet he was the one to claim the favor? Seiya couldn't do such a thing. Revealing the truth now would inevitably hurt Mayumi, so at the very least, Seiya felt obligated to return the concert ticket money to Shinjo. Even though Chris Maya debuted less than a year ago, she's incredibly popular, so the ticket prices are quite high. The seats we're sitting in are near the front of the center court, and I hear people online are willing to pay hundreds of thousands of yen for them. 500,000 yen a ticket, that would mean 2 tickets would be 1 million yen. What kind of concert was this? Was Chris Maya a singer or an alien? She was actually making more money singing than a fighter jet mechanic like him. Seiya, unwilling to owe anyone a favor, hesitated upon hearing the ticket prices. But just as Mayumi was about to say something, enthusiastic cheers erupted from all around. As for why the audience was so excited, the reason was simple: the singer named Chris Maya had just appeared. She was about 20 years old, with long black hair. Her appearance and voice were impeccable, but that didn't matter. What mattered was that Seiya discovered that she wasn't just any human, but an alien. Chapter 220, an alien girl abandoned by her family? Although Chris Maya's vital signs and other aspects appeared to be normal humans, Seiya could tell from a single glance that she was anything but ordinary. As the human form of Ultraman Hero, he could sense the presence of another life within her. Mayumi, what kind of person is Chris Maya? Does she have any family? Where does she live? An alien disguised as an earthling, even debuting as a singer, was a member of the victory team, and having discovered such an anomaly, it was his duty to investigate. Upon hearing Seiya's question, Mayumi cheerfully asked, Chris Maya's songs are great, aren't they? Are you a fan, Seiya? But a reporter once interviewed Chris Maya and suggested she was an orphan whose family died in a car accident when she was young. After the concert, Chris Maya, leaving the backstage, was immediately surrounded by fans, clamoring for autographs. Coincidentally, Seiya, with his impressive physique, brought Mayumi to the front of the crowd. When Chris Maya took the autograph pad from Seiya, she too was stunned upon seeing Seiya. Just as Seiya could sense her abnormality, Chris Maya could sense that Seiya was no ordinary human. Ms. Chris Maya, if possible, I'd like to speak with you privately. While I don't know your specific situation, I think I can help you in some way. Seiya casually took the autograph pad and looked at Chris Maya with a serious expression. Who are you? If every fan wanted to spend time alone with Miss Chris Maya, wouldn't she be exhausted? Now that you've got her autograph, get out of the way. Stop pushing us. Before Chris Maya could even begin to speak, her manager and bodyguards, standing nearby, reached out to stop Seiya. One of Chris Maya's bodyguards, seeing Seiya approaching, even attempted to knock him to the ground. Unfortunately, when the bodyguard grabbed Seiya with both hands and tried to pin him down, he found the young man's body was as strong as steel. No matter how hard he tried, he remained unmoved. Stop. They're both my friends. There's a cafe not far from here. Let's go talk. Chris Maya knew that Seiya had come to talk to her primarily because he recognized her. However, since Seiya hadn't said anything and preferred to talk alone, it seemed he meant no harm. Honestly, Chris Maya knew she wasn't from Earth and that she had family, but she wasn't entirely sure about her past. But Maya, you still have to go. 30 minutes is enough. Don't I even have that much time to rest? Seeing Chris Maya's discontented retort, the agent had no choice but to give up. After all, the man was his cash cow, and it would be bad to anger Chris Maya. Seiya, is there something wrong with Chris Maya? Mayumi was no fool. On the contrary, she was quite perceptive and intelligent. Although they had only known each other for a short time, she didn't believe Seiya was the type to use his power and threaten others. Seiya was a member of the victory team and Ultraman Hero, so for him to say something like that could only indicate that there might be something wrong with Chris Maya himself. After entering the cafe, wearing a mask, Chris Maya ordered a black coffee and looked sternly at Seiya and Mayumi, who sat across from him. After sizing them up, she looked at Seiya again and said, "Are you sure you want your girlfriend to listen in on what we're going to talk about?" It was obvious to Chris Maya that Seiya was vastly different from ordinary humans. But Mayumi, sitting next to him, was a true human. The fact that they were able to attend her concert together meant that, even if they weren't a romantic relationship, they were at least on good terms. And if this ordinary human woman didn't realize the man beside her wasn't ordinary, their conversation could potentially lead to a breakup. After all, not everyone can accept alien life. At least to Earth and its inhabitants, they are always just strangers. Mayumi isn't my girlfriend. She's more like a colleague's sister, or a friend, if you will. But that's not important. Her work often brings her into contact with aliens, so there's no need to hide her from us. Let's get back to the point. Who are you, and why are you pretending to be human and living on Earth? While there's no official ban on harmless alien life on Earth, there's no information on Chris Maya. Hearing Seiya's blunt question, Chris Maya's face suddenly turned melancholy. I'd love to know why I'm stuck on Earth. About 15 years ago, our family's spaceship passed by, and I was left here by my family. To this day, I still don't know if it was meant to be, or if I was simply abandoned. When you said you could help me, I assumed you knew about my situation, or that my family had sent you here. But, after some discussion, Seiya and the others finally understood that the person before them, Seiya, wasn't a new alien, but a veteran who had lived on Earth for 15 years. 15 years earlier, a car accident had wiped out the once happy family. Coincidentally, Seiya and her family's spaceship had also arrived on this planet. Young Seiya was left alone on this planet, and the little girl, who was supposed to have died in the accident, had become the popular singer she is today, possessed by Seiya. When we said we wanted to help you, we weren't kidding. Since we've confirmed you're a harmless alien who's only trying to find your family, we'll definitely do our best to help you find them. Let me introduce myself. My name is Winrin Shengaya, and I'm a member of the Victory Team. Besides battling monsters, our Victory Team specializes in dealing with alien incidents. My name is Shinjo Mayumi, and I'm a nurse at the TPC Medical Department. Thank you for your guidance. I didn't expect Miss Maya to have such a past, but since Shengaya agreed to help, there must be no problem, as he's always been very reliable. Chapter 221 Women only affect my keyboard typing speed. Here's my personal contact information. If you need anything, you can call me. I haven't been this happy in ages, and I'm so grateful that you're willing to help me after learning about my situation. As they parted ways, Seiya bowed to Seiya and Mayumi, expressing her gratitude and leaving her contact information. Honestly, despite the unexpected situation today, Seiya was truly happy, even feeling a bit lighter. Although Seiya was an alien, she was a powerless alien. As a young child, she had lived on Earth for a full 15 years. During that time, she had no family, and to protect herself, or to avoid the discovery of her special identity, she had no close friends. Living alone in a foreign land, she had no one to confide in, leaving her to endure the loneliness and stress. Imagine how she felt. And today, after meeting Seiya and the others, even though her deepest secret had been exposed, they didn't, as she had imagined, report her or harm her after learning she was an alien. Instead, they helped her. After years of living on Earth in a precarious position, Seiya felt at ease for the first time. Having finally been able to share her long-held secrets and receive help, she felt she might actually find her family again. Honestly, she herself was baffled by her own choice to trust Seiya. He seemed to possess an aura that made her trustworthy, and Seiya felt there was no reason for him to deceive her. Her biggest secret was that she wasn't from Earth, and he saw through it instantly. As an alien, she possessed virtually no fighting power, and even her current appearance, that of an ordinary Earth woman, coupled with her own loneliness, frankly convinced Seiya that anyone seeking to exploit her would find no value in her. Of course, there was another reason for Seiya's trust in Seiya. She viewed Seiya, like herself, as an alien to the native Earthlings. Although she didn't know how Seiya became a member of the Victory Team, the fact that they were also aliens living on Earth made Seiya feel that she wasn't completely alone. Meanwhile, Mayumi, who had just said goodbye to Seiya, was also incredibly happy. Thanks to Seiya, she not only received an autographed photo from her idol, but also got Seiya's line number, a truly rewarding experience for a fan like her. I didn't expect to become friends with Seiya at this concert. It's like a dream. But Seiya, how did you know Seiya was an alien? Is it because you're Ultraman? Seiya was looking at information about Seiya on his phone, including a search for the car accident 15 years ago, when Mayumi's words nearly made him drop the phone. Ultraman? What are you talking about, Mayumi? During their conversation, while he had revealed his identity as a member of the Victory Team, Seiya hadn't mentioned her identity at all. How did Mayumi know? Seeing Seiya's look of shock and attempts at excuses, Mayumi leaped in front of him and made a face. Alright, stop explaining. The Ultraman who saved my brother and Takuma was actually Seiya, right? Takuma already told me everything. I don't know why Seiya wants to keep this a secret, but since it's your wish, I swear to keep it a secret. Hearing Mayumi's words, Seiya sighed helplessly. Daiko had transformed into Tigo every day without ever being exposed, but he'd been slacking off for so long, and only once had his identity been exposed. After the concert, Mayumi treated Seiya to a high-end Western meal to express her gratitude, officially concluding their date. After dropping Mayumi off at home, Seiya returned exhausted, vowing never to take on such a daunting task again, no matter how much Shinjo pleaded. Mayumi must have been quite happy today. Not only did she get to see the concert, but she also got to meet her idol up close and personal, even becoming friends. But Seiya was having a rough time. It was supposed to be a nice day off, relaxing at home, but first he encountered an alien, then he ended up saddled with 1,000,000 yen in debt, the money for 2 concert tickets. After a shower, Seiya settled into his bed. Just as he opened his laptop to play a game he just bought, a series of social media notifications popped up on his computer. Among them were photos Mayumi had shared with him that day, and a photo of them with Seiya. The likes and comments were overwhelming, especially Horii, whose jealousy was practically overflowing the screen. Besides Mayumi's boastful line status, another notification was that Seiya had added him as a friend. Seiya had assumed that, as a popular singer, she was a busy person, adding him online simply to stay updated on the progress of her search for her family. But what Seiya didn't expect was that just as he accepted the friend request, Seiya started sending a bunch of messages. Mr. Seiya, are you asleep? Mr. Seiya, as an alien from outer space, how many years have you lived on Earth? Mr. Seiya, do you have any other family on Earth? Mr. Seiya, does Miss Mayumi, who is with you today, know that you are an alien? If aliens like us are discovered to be who we really are, can we really be accepted by the people on Earth? Mr. Seiya, have you started investigating my family? If you want to know more details, you can ask me directly. Mr. Seiya, when he saw the dialogue boxes popping up with messages one after another, Seiya was dumbfounded. No, wasn't Seiya quite aloof in person before? Why is she such a chatterbox on the internet? This is totally inconsistent with your personality as a popular singer. Taking a look at the messages that kept popping up, Seiya felt a headache trying to reply to all of them. After chatting with Seiya, is he going to play the game anymore? Opening the dialog box, Seiya decisively replied to a message, and then decisively set line to offline status. Ms. Maya, I'm quite tired today. Let's talk again when we're free another day. Women will only affect his keyboard speed, even popular singers are the same. Chapter 222 The popular singer is a game rookie. Elsewhere, in a villa in Tokyo, Seiya sat at her computer, eagerly awaiting a reply. But when she saw Seiya's reply, a hint of disappointment crossed her face. Seiya's constant chatter with Seiya wasn't meant to imply she had feelings for him. It was mainly because she was so lonely. For 15 years, she'd been without family or friends. Often, she'd longed for someone to talk to, but she couldn't find one. Seiya, like her, wasn't from Earth, and he knew her secret. So, compared to before, she now had someone to confide in. Before, she could only express her longing for her family in her songs and cry alone late at night. But now, with a friend, she couldn't wait to confide in Seiya. And besides her own personal affairs, she felt a desire to learn more about Seiya as a friend. For example, how did Seiya come to Earth, and how has he lived there since? Why did she join the victory team? Seiya might be an alien, but she'd lived on Earth for over a decade, so she naturally understood Seiya's response as a way out. Perhaps, feeling lonely, she'd thought she'd found a lifeline, treating him as a kindred spirit and a friend, but he was merely trying to help her. She'd thought she'd found someone to talk to, but in the end, she was still alone. Seiya refused to communicate, so there was no point in logging onto line. After all, for Seiya, social media was primarily for work. She had no friends or family. Just as she was about to shut down her computer, a frustrated look on her face, a message suddenly popped up. Ms. Maya, do you play games? I didn't expect the game I just bought had levels that require teamwork. I need a strong, reliable teammate, so called vacations, like precious things to a young girl, vanished in an instant. The next morning, Seiya yawned as he entered the victory team's base. Seeing Seiya's state, Lena and the others looked at him with profound expressions. After all, everyone on the victory team knew that Seiya had gone on a date with Mayumi yesterday, and now he looked sleep-deprived. Could it be that he had just gone straight to second base? Captain Horii, this is the autographed photo you requested. I got it for you. Handing Horii the autographed photo he had requested from Seiya yesterday, Seiya expected the tech geek to be thrilled. However, after receiving the autographed photo, Horii looked at him with a look of disapproval, leaving Seiya completely bewildered. Seiya, you are so mean. We all saw Mayumi's line status yesterday. Not only did you go to see Chris Maya's concert, but you also had dinner and took photos with her. You had such a good opportunity, why didn't you invite me along? You know I'm a big fan of Chris Maya. Horii was so envious when he saw Mayumi's line status last night. If he had known that there would be such special benefits at this concert, he would have rushed to it before Seiya. Captain Horii, you're exaggerating too much? It was just a cup of coffee with her. What do you mean it was just a cup of coffee? Do you know how rare that is for a fan? Didn't you see Mayumi's line status last night? The number of likes and comments on it are enough to show how popular Chris Maya is. An opportunity like yesterday to have afternoon tea with her might only come once in a lifetime, and I actually missed it. Unable to bear Horii's chattering, Seiya reached out and pushed his fat head away, saying, "That's not as outrageous as you say. If you missed this opportunity, you can just ask her out next time. I don't think she's as high and mighty as you say. She's even a bit chatty." Well, her gaming skills are pretty bad. When they heard what Seiya said, not only Horii, but also Deiko and Lena who were watching the show were stunned. Horii quickly caught on, looking at Seiya in disbelief. "Seiya, you didn't just have afternoon tea with Chris Maya, you also exchanged line numbers with her." "Yeah, she said it was to keep us in touch later. Last night, because our new game had a team clearing level and Mayumi went to bed early, I invited her. Who knew her gaming skills were so terrible? We had to play all night before we finally finished it." After hearing Seiya's words, Lena's face suddenly dawned. It turned out Seiya's sleepy appearance was from playing games all night, not from going to quaff after his date with Mayumi. She was truly deluded. "What? Not only did you exchange line numbers with Chris Maya, you even played games with her all night. Seiya, you're so enviable. I'm going to destroy you." Seeing Horii's envy, the other members of the victory team couldn't help but chuckle. Deiko's words aside, Lena and Nori were actually quite envious of Seiya's friendship with a popular singer. Elsewhere, in a villa in Tokyo, Chris Maya, with thick dark circles under her eyes, was woken early in the morning by the ringing of her phone. She had originally been scheduled to have a presentation today, but having stayed up late playing games last night, Chris Maya was completely exhausted. "Mr. Ryota, please cancel today's presentation for me. I was busy with other things last night and I'm completely exhausted." The agent on the phone was stunned when he heard Maya's words. He had been Chris Maya's manager for almost a year, and he had never seen anything like this before. Another celebrity might have had a hangover or something, but as far as his agent knew, Maya didn't even have any friends. "Maya, today's announcement is quite important. If you breach the contract, you'll be personally liable for substantial liquidated damages, so, it's okay. I'll pay the fine. It's not something I'd mind paying for anyway. Besides this, I actually have another favor to ask, Mr. Ryota. Do you know how to quickly become a gaming expert? Or do you know of any training courses that can help me improve my gaming skills quickly?" Chapter 223 The Gold Medal Crash Pilot Possessed by Aliens. Chris Maya's words left her already bewildered agent even more bewildered. Skipping work was one thing, but now she was asking such bizarre questions. How could she quickly become a gaming expert? Did Chris Maya give up her singing career and switch to esports? "Maya, what's wrong with you? You're a popular singer right now, and in a few days it's your 1-year debut anniversary. You should stop messing around at this critical juncture. Why are you trying to improve your gaming skills? Is it for music, too?" Hearing her agent's anxious voice on the phone, Maya wanted to confess that she'd been playing games with someone last night and been criticized for her poor skills. Playing games with friends was a new experience for Maya, but she knew that if she continued playing at the same level as last night, Seiya would definitely not contact her again. So, to maintain their friendship, she had to improve her gaming skills. As the book says, the prerequisite for becoming friends is sharing interests and hobbies. Of course, as a popular singer under contract, Maya was well aware that her agent would object to if she said she was playing games with others to improve her gaming skills. So, for now, she could only nod and say, "Yes, I've had some inspiration lately, but I haven't had much exposure to gaming before." Upon hearing Maya's words over the phone, her agent breathed a sigh of relief. As long as she wasn't wasting her time, it was fine. Maya was their company's cash cow. She had the looks and the talent. She only needed 2 years of hard work, a few more awards, and then she could break into the entertainment industry and become a true national idol. "Since you're not feeling well, stay home and rest today. I'll keep an eye out for your gaming training. The penalty for postponing the announcement might have been painful for anyone else, but for Chris Maya, it was nothing. She wrote almost all of her own music and lyrics for her albums, and with her near-absent social life and a disinterest in luxury goods, she had little money to spend. To put it simply, despite debuting only a year ago, Maya's popularity and talent mean she's completely flush with cash, a truly wealthy woman. Damn it, that Seiya guy actually said last night that I play games with my feet. In a few days, I'll definitely impress you and make you beg me to lead the team. Glancing at the game still on her computer screen, Maya, still with dark circles under her eyes, scrambled to her feet. She couldn't believe it. How could playing a simple game be harder than writing a song? While the popular singer was completely absorbed in her game, a minor incident occurred on the victory team. Shinjo, who had been away on a mission, returned, but injured. Reports indicate that he was attacked by an unidentified creature during his mission, causing the fighter jet he was piloting to crash and leaving him in a coma. Upon learning of her brother's injury, Mayumi abandoned her grudge and instead spent the next few days caring for Shinjo at the TPC Medical Center. The day after Shinjo's plane crash, he finally regained consciousness in the hospital. TPC Medical's advanced medical equipment confirmed he was in good health and ready for discharge. However, the same evening, Mayumi suddenly called Seiya and quietly revealed her suspicions that the Shinjo she had returned to was not the same Shinjo she once knew. Although Shinjo's voice, appearance, and even memory were perfectly normal, Mayumi, having lived together for years, noticed a change in him upon his awakening. While appearances can change, personality and habits are much harder to alter in a short period of time. Since returning home, Mayumi has noticed numerous unusual things about Shinjo. While she's been testing him and asking him about past events, and he's been able to answer them fluently, Mayumi feels that the brother she sees is simply not the same person she once was. TPC's equipment detected no abnormalities with Shinjo, and his memories were correct. However, Mayumi's intuition told her that the Shinjo she was facing wasn't the hot-tempered but responsible and caring brother she once knew. He bore her brother's appearance and memories, but Mayumi felt a stranger, and sharing a room with this Shinjo made her feel extremely uneasy. Mayumi shared this with her TPC nurse friends, but they dismissed her suspicions. After careful consideration, Mayumi realized that the only person who could help her was Seiya. Seiya had recognized Chris Maya at her concert, recognizing her as not from Earth. If she asked Seiya for help, would he be able to identify the problem with her brother? After receiving Mayumi's call, Seiya quickly reported the situation to Captain Iruma Megumi, who assigned Seiya and Deiko to investigate. After Shinjo's accident, he'd been recuperating at home for the past few days. Seiya and Deiko, who had just left, soon arrived at Shinjo's home, carrying a fruit basket and under the pretext of visiting. The moment they saw Shinjo at Mayumi's house, Seiya and Deiko realized Mayumi's suspicions were justified. The Shinjo before them was indeed no longer the same Shinjo. More precisely, the entity now controlling Shinjo's body wasn't the original Shinjo, but a different being. This was confirmed because Seiya and Deiko, who had visited him, weren't ordinary humans. After confirming this Shinjo wasn't the same Shinjo, Seiya immediately found an excuse to take Mayumi away. Watching Seiya and Mayumi leave, Deiko addressed Shinjo directly, asking, "Who are you? Why are you occupying Shinjo's body? What's your purpose?" Upon seeing Seiya and Deiko, the fake Shinjo realized he'd been exposed. He hadn't anticipated that the two members of the victory team who had visited him weren't ordinary humans. "I have no ill intentions. I visited this planet simply to find my family. I didn't harm this human called Xinchen. In fact, if it weren't for me, he would have died in the attack by the Tan people." If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, Shingaya. It's none of my business, it's your brother who came to me. Shinjo, who was pointed at by Daegu with a gun, could only raise his hands helplessly to show that he was harmless. Originally, he wanted to leave secretly tonight and slowly search for his sister on this planet. But he didn't expect that after only one day, Mayumi would see through him. The fake Shinjo also knew that he was not the real one. Based on the idea that the more he said, the more mistakes he made, He had tried to reduce his contact with Mayumi, but no one expected that he would be caught wrong soon. It can only be said that the relationship between this human called Shinjo and his sister is quite enviable. If they were not siblings with a very good relationship, how could they have discovered that they were a fake in such a short time? This human named Shinjo is only temporarily sleeping in my body, and the reason I borrowed his body is just to find my sister. No matter whether it is Shinjo or his sister Mayumi, I have never thought of hurting them. It's even better to say that I envy the relationship between them. Shinjo is a great brother. From his memory, I can see that he is a brother who is both responsible and caring for his sister. Compared to Shinjo, I am far inferior. She has lived alone on this planet for 15 years. I must find her quickly and take her back. Dago did not relax his vigilance for what Shinjo said. After all, no one knows whether what the other party said is true or false. However, it was true that the other person had spent a day with Mayumi and hadn't harmed her. So, Dago, gun in hand, demanded, "Who are you talking about? Is she the family you're looking for? While you may have your reasons, it's true that you've taken over Shinjo's body. Furthermore, the truth of everything you've said is currently unverified. Could you please return with us temporarily to cooperate with the investigation? If what you say is true, the victory team will assist you in finding your family and returning you." Shinjo didn't doubt Daiko's words, but he knew that the Netanians who had pursued him had also arrived here when he arrived on Earth. While he was fine with the victory team's investigation, he worried that the Netanians who had followed him to this planet might harm his sister. With this thought in mind, Shinjo, in Daiko's moment of daze, smashed a nearby window and fled. Earth was quite large, and finding his sister wasn't a simple task for Shinjo. Coincidentally, the younger sister of the Earthman he possessed, Mayumi, told him today that she and Seiya had gone to see Chris Maya's concert. The moment they took a photo together, Shinjo immediately recognized Chris Maya as the sister he had been searching for. The Netanians had already reached this planet, and Shinjo couldn't confirm whether the victory team could help him. However, his goal was simple, to find his sister and leave the planet as quickly as possible. Standing outside, Seiya watched Shinjo escape through the broken window and chose not to stop him. He had overheard Daiko's conversation, and Seiya realized that the alien possessing Shinjo was most likely the family Chris Maya was looking for. Chris Maya had been left on Earth 15 years ago, and the other party had just said that his sister had lived alone on this planet for 15 years, so the timeline matched. Furthermore, since both parties were searching for their families, it would be too much of a coincidence. Seiya had initially assumed that agreeing to help Chris Maya find her family would take considerable time. After all, Earth is so vast, finding someone in a vast sea of people wouldn't be easy, especially since the other person was an alien. But he never expected that before he could even report this, the other person's brother would show up on his own. Watching Shinjo retreat into the darkness, Seiya silently retrieved his phone, logged into Line, and sent a message to Chris Maya. "There's some progress regarding your family. If nothing goes wrong, your brother should be able to find you in the next couple of days." Seiya had assumed that Maya, a popular singer, would be busy, but his message had barely been sent when she replied instantly. "Are you sure you're not kidding? I've been searching for 15 years to no avail, and in just a few days, you've already found my brother? Are the victory team really that efficient? Or are you kidding me?" Cyrillic lettered X. Seiya did not choose to hide Maya's suspicion and told her what had just happened. As for the other side, after hearing the whole story, Maya was also very excited. After 15 years, her brother finally came to find her, and she could finally go back to her real hometown with her brother. The alien who possessed Shinjo escaped. After Dago reported this matter, the victory team also attached great importance to it and began to search for Shinjo's whereabouts. Although Seiya could probably guess that the current Shinjo should be looking for Maya, he did not reveal it to the outside world, but pretended to search everywhere with Dago and the others. Maya was left alone on Earth for 15 years. Now that her relatives finally came to visit, he couldn't be so tactless as to interrupt the warm time of their reunion. Anyway, Maya had promised him that when she and her brother left the Earth, she would let her brother return the body to Shinjo. Unbeknownst to Seiya, just as Shinjo found Maya, the Natan people, who were hunting Maya's brother, also found them. Seiya didn't know what kind of aliens Maya and her brother were, but they seemed similar to humans, with little combat power. Thanks to Seiya's warning, the moment Shinjo found Maya and spoke to him telepathically, Maya believed him to be her brother. However, Just as the two were reminiscing at an amusement park, and Shinjo explained the reason he had left Maya on Earth, a Natan person, also possessed by an Earthling, arrived and opened fire on them. The Natan people had originally been allies with the Mayans' planet, but for some reason, they destroyed their home planet and began a relentless hunt for Maya and her people. Maya's brother hadn't come to Earth to find her in all these years because, while Maya lived a peaceful life on Earth, he had been constantly hunted by the Natan people. As for why Maya was found this time, it was because her brother and his tribe had already found a new home, so they came to take Maya back. I'd better finish writing about this world as soon as possible. I feel that what I wrote myself is not very nutritious and it feels so difficult to write. Tot. Chapter 225 Seiya. It turns out you are also chosen by the light. Inside the amusement park, a middle-aged man, wielding a bizarre weapon, continuously fired lasers at a fleeing man and woman. Had Seiya been present, he would have recognized the young man and woman being hunted as Shinjo and Maya. Your journey is over. All the fugitives have been executed. I thought you were the only one left, but I didn't expect your sister to slip through the net. This time, though, as long as I kill you all, my mission will be complete. The Natan people spoke of justice, yet their actions showed no mercy. The amusement park was filled with innocent people, but to successfully hunt down Shinjo and Maya, the Natan people paid no mind to any of this and simply opened fire. The laser weapons fired at the ground and the rides, sending sparks flying. Fortunately, the surrounding tourists noticed the scene and began to flee in panic. Meanwhile, a little girl, separated from her family, was pushed to the ground by the others, crying. The pursuing Natanians opened fire without hesitation. To save the innocent little girl caught in their crossfire, Maya's brother stepped forward and blocked the bullet. A laser beam pierced Shinjo's body, instantly sending Maya's brother to the ground. Maya, hurry up and take this child. Shinjo, his body pierced by the laser, struggled to his feet, clinging to the Natanian's thigh and yelling for Maya to flee. However, just as the Natanian looked at Shinjo clinging to his thigh and Maya tearfully fleeing with the little girl, he was about to fire again when a laser beam struck his gun hand. Seiya, please save my brother. This man isn't from Earth either. He's the Natanian who destroyed our home planet. Seeing Seiya appear, Maya felt as if she had found a lifeline, sobbing and hoping that he would save her brother. Even when the Natanians were chasing them, Maya had secretly sent a distress message to Seiya. There was no way. She had almost no friends on Earth. The only person she knew and could rely on in such a situation was Seiya. Glancing at the collapsed Shinjo and the tankman staring at him with disdain, Seiya angrily declared, "This is Earth, the planet we humans inhabit. We don't care what you do on your own planet, but those who wantonly trample on the freedom of others and disregard human life here, don't expect to return safely." Hearing Seiya's words, the tankman looked disapproving. After kicking Shinjo, who was unconscious but still clinging to his thigh, he was about to punch Seiya, but Seiya nimbly dodged and sent him flying with a backhanded punch several meters away. It was just as Seiya was sending him flying that Deiko, who had been working with him, finally arrived. It wasn't that he wasn't performing well on the mission, but rather that he hadn't anticipated Seiya's exceptional physical abilities. The two had been on a mission to search for Shinjo, but after Seiya saw a message on his phone, he suddenly grabbed the steering wheel and rushed to the scene with a whirlwind of sparks, lightning, and grace. When they exited the car, Deiko was astonished by Seiya's inhuman physical abilities. He barely paused before Seiya vanished from sight. As Tiga's human form, Deiko, while still unsure of what had transpired, took one look at Shinjo lying unconscious, Maya weeping while holding a little girl, and the Natan alien, whose face read "I'm a villain," and without hesitation, he pointed his gun at them. "You weak earthlings, you dare to stop me? Then die with them." The Natan alien, possessing the human body, had realized from the previous exchange that he was no match for the enemy in his current state, so he immediately detached from the earthling's body and returned to his original form. As a ball of light emancipated itself from the possessed middle-aged man's body, the 50-meter-tall Natan alien appeared within the amusement park and began wreaking havoc. Although local authorities responded quickly and evacuated personnel, many people hadn't yet left the amusement park. If the aliens continued their rampage, heavy casualties would undoubtedly result. The victory team's Seiya was already deployed. Since Shinjo was lying on the ground, and Seiya and Deiko were also present, the fighter planes were piloted by Reina and Captain Iruma Megumi. Reina, find a way to force the monster out of the amusement park area. The crowds are too high. Seiya, Deiko, you should be inside the amusement park right now. Direct the evacuation of the tourists there as quickly as possible. Upon hearing Iruma Megumi's orders, Seiya and Deiko hesitated to act. The Naden alien, already utterly enraged by the Hidain's attack, had actually dismantled the amusement park's Ferris wheel with his bare hands. Inside the Ferris wheel, one could vaguely see a number of ordinary people who hadn't had time to escape. Deiko glanced at the Naden, who had lifted the Ferris wheel, then at Seiya, Maya, and the others beside him. He reached for the hand holding the divine light rod, and began to hesitate. Seeing Deiko's hesitation, Seiya pulled out his own transformation device and impatiently addressed the stunned Deiko. Deiko, are you going to transform into Tiga or not? If not, let me do it. I was hoping you'd maintain your hard-working persona, but who knew you'd be so fussy? I understand you want to hide your identity to avoid trouble, but while you hesitate, those in danger can't wait that long. We were already a step too late, are we going to be late again? As Seiya finished his words, he raised his transformation device and, before Deiko's eyes, transformed into light. Unlike Deiko's Aoyama rod, Seiya's transformation device is a shield-like emblem. When transforming, the wings on either side of the shield will pop out to the left and right. Watching Seiya transform into light and then transform directly into Ultraman Hero before him, Deiko was completely stunned. He hesitated to transform because of Seiya beside him. After all, Shinjo had fainted, Maya was an alien, and the little girl Maya was holding was also in a coma. So, after all this time, was Seiya also chosen by the light? End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all, see you in the next video.